Okay. Hey folks, welcome back to another exciting episode of Loss of Lieutenant. I'm your host Kevin, and on tonight's show I'm joined by fellow hosts
Jacob,
Josh,
and Nick.
Hey, we've got almost the whole gang back together for this special third spotlight in a row because we're trying to hold off doing episode 100
yeah,
until we can actually get everyone on one show.
the spotlight of avoiding a particular episode number.
Yeah.
Episode 99.95.
Yeah, we're well and truly past episode 100 as far as actual episodes or as far as content goes. But yeah, this is another spotlight where tonight we're going to be recapping the recent Burn City Brawl, or somewhat recent, it's like 2 weeks ago now. The Burn City Brawl that happened in Melbourne. And like I say, it's going to be a spotlight, so we're just going to get straight into it. But first of all, hello, gentlemen. How are we? Are we all good? We all happy?
Mm-hmm. Good.
Excellent.
Well.
Excellent. So tonight, we're just going to be going through some of the stats from the event, as well as the lists that you guys took to the event and how you went on with your games. So as a reminder for our listeners and viewers out there, it was a 5-round event with missions which were Cryogenics, Capture and Protect, Frontline, Supplies, and Decap. We had 48 players in the end, which was great. Didn't quite break that 50, but we did have a couple of drops. So, alas, we'll try again next year. We had representation from every state and territory in Australia except for Tasmania, but who cares about them, right? They're not even attached to the mainland.
Kev, you've now lost us like half a viewer.
Half a viewer. Is that in relation to the fact that they only have half a brain? No,
two. It's two, one for each head.
One for each head. Oh, Tasmania. No, we love you. Yes, we had 14 interstate in the end. Seven from New South Wales, 2 from Queensland, 2 from WA, 1 from ACT, 1 from the Northern Territory, represent, and 1 from South Australia, which was a nice little split. Good to see some people traveling down for events again post-COVID.
I'm going to say, compared to our showing at the Anzac Cup, this is weak. They didn't make up half the freaking field.
Oh yes. It was nice to have. More 50% of the field from one state. But yeah, it was good. Nick, I think I tasked you with doing some of the stats. Are you happy to go through some of them for our listeners? And Mr. Joshua, are you able to bring up the final scoring for me on the stream?
I can.
Because I am incapable of operating more than one thing at a time. All right, sweet. Can you zoom that in for us as well, please, sir?
Right. What was that?
So while he brings that up.
Yeah, he's brought that up on the screen for those watching along at home. We have all 48 entrants along with the faction that they took for the event. If you wouldn't mind actually zooming in on that, and then we'll sort of take a look at the sort of top of the ranks.
Just gonna put me in the center there. There we are, right there, right nice in the middle. Oh, Nick's in there too. Sorry.
We're all in there, I think.
So first place we had John C. with his Toha. Second was Ed S. with his Varuna. And third was Jordan A. with his Moorhats. And this also was our top Queensland, ACT, and Vic players in that order.
Yeah, so Victoria did not take out the top spot, unfortunately, but we did land a podium place, which was good, especially against John and Ed, who are both very, very good players.
John won. John came very close to winning the last BCB as well, didn't he?
I don't know. I wasn't there for it.
Top table with against Julian.
Oh, was he taking?
Oh no, he wasn't. No, he didn't. I don't think it was a Toha off top table. I think that was more like.
No, it was a Toha off. Second last round between me and Julian.
Damn Toha.
So best sport we had Ben S with Moratz. Best new player was Lewis M with White Banner. Best table that was not Hughes was Aaron M, as he was disqualified for winning last year.
I mean, he's got a bloody good table.
Oh, he does.
Very good. It's very good. It's a brutal cities table, and very nicely painted as well. I like the contrast of the blue and orange. I don't know. I love a blue and orange table. It's just always looks nice out there on the table.
He paid attention to his color wheel and art class.
He certainly did.
So I got the opportunity to play on Aaron's table. While the table was excellent to start with, I think the best feature he had that I haven't seen on other tables, he had a clock integrated into the terrain, so you could keep track of your time.
Yeah, it was a good table. It was a 3D printed table from Saucerman Studios, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
It was 3D printed, but I couldn't say from where.
Yeah, I think it was Saucerman Studios. So it's some nice like sci-fi esque, cyberpunk kind of stuff. Spent a bit of time on the Friday night helping him set it up because he's a relatively new player, and it was nice for him to ask for assistance from the community to get playing. And by all accounts, it looked well and it played pretty well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is for those of you watching along at home. So I quite like these kind of like chunky buildings. They block line of sight. They're tall enough. It's got plenty of scatter, and then some nice little fun bits like the circular doodah over here, and some of the vehicles, and like you can see there the clock in the corner, which is cool. So yeah,
I had fun. I didn't help him set it up, but I definitely walked over and watched him putting all the lights together and stuff. They all, like a lot of these pieces have LEDs in them that light up. Not sure how long the batteries lasted over the weekend, but they had lots of lights going through it. It's a stunning table.
Yeah, no, it's really good, really really good. What else have we got here?
Okay, so the player with the highest OP and VP was actually Jordan in third with his Morats. Like to bring special note to his VP of 1198.
Yeah.
Out of a possible 1500 for the entire tournament.
Wow.
The next closest player is more than 100 points away from him.
Yeah, over the course of 5 games, that's not an awful lot of dropped VP. Yeah.
Man, those Suriats are very hard to kill, aren't they?
And if you do, you just fucking bring them back up with your paramedics that heal you on the Fizz 14.
We'll go over it in my game, but I think a lot of people made the same mistake against Jordan, and he just punished the entire tournament for it.
Yeah.
So we managed to have 3 undefeated players. John and Ed in first and second. But we also had a 12th place with no defeats. Would you like to explain how you pulled that one off, Josh?
Look, I can't say I'm a good player, but I'm at least as good as my opponents. So I managed to sneak away, snatch draws from the jaws of victory or defeat, away from my opponents. So I just walk up to my opponent at the start of each game, handshake, and okay, draw, major draw. Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Back to the pub. So what was in the end? Is it two draws or
three draws and 3 draws?
2 wins, 3 draws.
Wow, that's actually a feat in itself to draw 3 times. But I guess we might get into that in the games and find out how that even happened.
So looking at the armies and factions people played, probably one of the most diverse tournaments I've seen. We had 27 armies and sectorals represented by 48 players. No sectoral was represented by more than 4 players, so 9%. Those were JSA, Morats, and TAC, which each had 4 players. Obviously, because they were so diverse, like the average faction was played by less than 2 players. Not really any conclusions we can draw about best faction, but there are still plenty of little tidbits we can draw out. The factions were also pretty diverse, if we just combine all the sectorals. Ariadne had the most players with 9, so that's only 19% still, followed by Nomads with 8 and combined with 7.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of surprising, especially based on how Interplanetario went. There were no vanilla Aleph and no steel Phalanx.
Yeah, which is it's interesting for a few reasons because LF is pretty popular generally, and then Steel Phalanx have just had that reboot with Blackwind, so having none of them in representation is it's a bit strange.
Yeah, I think it might be just a little bit of just a bit of exhaustion. Steel Phalanx, I think, was a huge presence in at least Melbourne for a really long time before Blackwind, and I just don't think people have picked them up yet.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually played against Steel Phalanx. I don't think even since they got the update. Now I think about it.
Yeah, I think only one of our players in Melbourne, Peter, picked them up for a little bit, and I don't even think he took it if he did play.
No, he didn't.
No,
He
but
didn't.
I haven't seen him play Steel Phalanx at all, even when I have seen him play.
He played it at the slow grow that we had at the start of the year, and
I think that's it.
Yeah. What else have we got, Nick?
So, also had no showing from Vanilla Pano or Ariadna. A little surprising with Pano, not as surprising with Ariadna, given that their sectorials kind of look a lot like Vanilla these days.
Well, I think Ariadna is probably still the strongest. That and Cosmo are definitely the strongest of Ariadna.
Yep.
But I think there was also a little bit of Val going on in this, a little bit of Val fuckery with the Ariadna showings, and apparently he's got his little cult of tack together.
Yeah, he does. Yes. He really does.
This was fucking four tack players.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of use ARF as well, I believe, or at least one use ARF.
There was one US Ariadna.
And then one or two Cosmo as well.
What a champion, US Ariadna.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah, there were definitely some Cosmo as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but no vanilla.
For having 9 players with no vanilla, there were still 3 sectorals represented by those.
That's true. Yeah, nine players with Ariadna, but none of them were vanilla. So yeah, that's interesting. What else we got?
There's only one O12 and no Starmada, which, given that roadbots exist now, and the missions definitely favor doctors and paramedics, we only had one player playing O12 and no Starmada.
Yeah, and that is very surprising, given all the new models and the updates and people talking about them. But I guess that's in many ways because people were probably already had been set in their factions last year and were playing them all the way through. They weren't chopping factions mid-season, I guess.
This might be another Val influence, considering how bad he went with tack at the start of the year and then apparently just shot straight up into the stratosphere. So people are like going, oh, maybe just playing a faction for a year is how I win tournaments.
Just listening to Val, that's how you win tournaments.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So we only had 8 vanilla players, so 17%, but 3 of them were in the top 10. So make of that what you will. The missions didn't really favor vanilla or sectoral, so it may just be what are people playing right now and what are they having fun with.
Yeah. I don't think unlike I think something like Novacore or CanCon or Inter, I don't think people were necessarily tailoring their army selection based on the missions. They were just like, cool, I'm playing these 5 missions and I've already got this army. I'm just gonna keep just do the best I can.
The mission selection was one that you could just dawdle along and play whatever army for it, really.
Yeah, I wonder actually because we had no incentive, and I know a few people came up to me on the weekend and were like they found it really interesting that none of the missions favored hackers or had no hacking bonus. They said that had a real influence on their choice of units. I wonder if had we included missions that did have hacker bonuses, would we have seen fewer Ariadna, maybe more combined army? Who knows? But I guess
I mean, hell, would you have even seen Toha play it at all?
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't have taken
Toha had a hacker in it.
It did have a hacker.
Yeah, what was
Oh,
it?
it had a hacker.
Was it the character
Was it
hacker?
Elias Kisan? I'm guessing.
I don't remember because it kind of sat in the corner of my game against him and
think it
didn't
might
really
have
do anything.
I feel like John took a war driver. I have a feeling in my. Oh no, I'm thinking Val again. Goddamn Val, he's leeching into my brain.
Amazing.
The brain parasite that is Val.
Yeah. So so that's a good little breakdown. I do want to come back briefly to the best new player because that's something that I quite enjoy having as part of BCB, where it's basically when you sign up for BCB, you tell us whether you regard yourself as a new player, and it's based off whether how many ITS events you've played in, and if it's fewer than 3, then your class is a new player. And then at the end of the scoring, at the end of the weekend, the highest placed new player is then awarded the best new player, which was Lewis, who sat pretty much almost right in the middle at 24th. There were some players higher than him who you could have regarded as a new player, maybe like 6 months ago, but I guess they're probably no longer new players anymore. But yeah, I just want to make special mention to that because I think it's a good way of rewarding people who maybe have been playing for less than 12 months and do well.
Definitely some incentive that to prevent new players from being scared off by a 5-round 2-day tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just recognizing people who are new to the scene, and sometimes new players come in and have something, have different ideas on an army and do really well, and it's nice to be recognized for it because I think he took White Banner, which was cool.
Mm.
All right, we'll move on to we've got the venue. So for those of you who haven't been listening the last 8 months, it was at Flemington and Kensington Bowls Club, which is different from the previous years where we have had it at the Masonic Centre. So I guess I was fairly happy with the venue. What do you guys think of the venue?
I mean, I was happy not to have to sacrifice some like a child to actually play there. That was good.
Yeah, there was no sacrificing of young children at this venue to the gods of the Masons.
Masonic Temple.
Masonic Temple.
It was a lot better because for anyone who doesn't really know Melbourne, where we normally have it in the Masonic Centre is on a place called Hoddle Street, which is just like a road leading into the middle of the city. There's like nothing on it for the most part. It's just sort of random businesses. Where we were for this BCB was on like Flemington, like Racecourse Road in the middle of sort of Flemington, and that's surrounded by there's plenty of shops, plenty of restaurants. Same sort of takeaway, fish and chips, kebab places, Subway. It was a much better venue than the Collingwood. Than the Masonic Club.
I was really happy with the venue, in part because, again, last BCB was my first major tournament. The acoustics in the place were much better. There were nice pillars that broke it up. There was carpet. The ceilings were broken up as well, so I could hear my opponent. My opponent could hear me. At the end of the day, I didn't have to go and get some throat lozenges because I'd been yelling at my opponent. As opposed to, the Masonic Temple it's very good if you want someone to hear you. If you've got 48 people who are trying to make one person hear you, it doesn't really work.
And also for anyone who wants to drown their sorrows after a particularly bad game, the Bowls Club had a fully licensed pub right next door. So there were plenty of people who were like, while you're deploying, are like, oh, hold on, let me go get a beer.
Yeah.
Good excuse to step out for hidden deployment.
Yeah, I mean, it was good that it was licensed. I mean, obviously, the Masonic Centre last year, where we've been having it, you could just BYO, which obviously is cheaper. But I think most people were pretty happy with the acoustics, less echoey, more comfortable, standing on carpet for most of the day as opposed to solid wood floor. And And the selection at the bar was really good too for a bowls club. I was expecting it to be like Cartland Draft and VB, but you actually had some nice craft beer there on tap. They supplied donuts and coffee and tea in the morning for us, which was really nice as well. So yeah, and the hosts actually of the club were really, really nice. They're really sweet guys. Very, very happy to have us, which was great.
Lots of interesting, inquisitive balls players also poking their heads in and
Yeah.
bring them in and let them see. And yeah,
I remember when we went to the pub afterwards. There was a bunch of people that were asking like, "Oh, what's going on? Is there like some sort of like nerd convention going on?"
Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, one of the bowls players, I was like talking to him. I was explaining to him, how you play Infinity, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty nerdy. And he says, dude, we play bowls. Like, we love measuring shit. Like, we love getting tape measures out and measuring things. So they get it. They get like. I was like, oh yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. I guess yeah, bowls is a bit nerdy too.
Who has more arguments about distance? Infinity players or bowls players?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I reckon it's bowls players.
Probably. So the venue was great by and large. It was probably maxed out. I don't think we could have really fit more tables in there. So we want to try and actually crack above 50. We will have to look at another venue next year, unfortunately, but we'll see how we go. Briefly, I want to mention Meet the Player, which was something that we were doing in the lead up to the event, something that was run by myself, where we had players who were coming could answer a series of 10 silly questions, and then I post them on the event page on a sort of weekly basis. And that was just a way of, I guess, breaking the ice, getting some conversation flowing. Also for the interstate players who may not know, many of us, it was a good way to kind of put a face to a name. And generally a bit of crack as well, which I think is usually been pretty well received by people in the community.
Yeah, it's a great segment. I definitely liked it going in because my first BCB was my first tournament, my first my third through eighth games of Infinity were played at my first BCB, and it was nice getting that sort of like primer to the community prior to coming in, and so especially for in-state players having coming down and being able to like see a face and go, oh, I recognize you off the Facebook page, or have something to talk about. It was really nice. It's a great little segment.
Yeah. And then so we'll sort of get into it now. So Friday afternoon, I packed up my car with all the boards and the train I could get and drove down to the bowls club. And I think a lot of people, we had a lot of people rock up on the Friday during the day and the evening to help set up and just chat. So I want to just put a huge thank you to everyone who came down to set up a table. In years gone by, it's been myself and Peter who have quite a few. I've got 5 tables. He's got something like 8 tables, and often it's a case of we have to put up all 13 of those tables, and which is a huge chore when you're setting up. So it was nice to have to only set up like three tables each, and everyone else set up their own. So yeah, huge thanks to the community for coming to help with that.
Well, don't forget you as our table editor as well, because no one else can put a table together quite like you, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Josh, for setting up my table. It was by all accounts, it wasn't shit, and I don't think I had to change it. It's one of those things. I hate this as a table designer. I mean, you guys know it yourself. It's like you tinker and you want to have the best possible table, and then someone, the goodness of their heart, will say, "Hey, do you want a hand setting up your table?" And I have this like thing inside me that's like, "No, fuck off! Don't touch my table." But at the same time, I'm like, well, they've offered, and that's nice of them, and it means I don't have to set up another table. So yeah, go for it, but just don't do a shit job, which is very subjective because people's opinion of what is a good and not a good table are different. So I appreciate it because everyone's got a different idea, but then at the same time, then I don't, it never looks like it's it's just me letting go. I just have to like be less of that guy, I guess,
Mhm.
or something. But yeah, it was a good night. We were all there. Most of us were there till, I don't know, probably 10 o'clock or something like that, setting up. So it was nice. The
So
bar
at
was
least
open.
one game being played as well.
Oh yeah,
So-
Ed played. Was it Ed played?
Ed played me.
And Nick
that's
played, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that that was a good game?
Yes, because I hadn't played Capture and Protect before, and so that was a good. Like,
no.
oh, that's how this mission works. I'm really glad I got that game in because tomorrow I have to play it for real.
Oh God! And had you been speaking to Ed before? Because Ed was one of the interstate players.
No, it was just he put his hand up and went, "Sure, I'm done with setup stuff. My table wasn't needed, so yeah, let's get a game in." Yeah, so it was two highly defensive armies playing Capture Protect that basically went nowhere for 2.5 turns.
Isn't
And
that
then
Capture and
on
Protect?
his bottom of 3, he like just Leroy Jenkins his entire core team, and they all simultaneously jumped on my objective, and one of them made their dodge roll, so it wasn't killed by Sundic Butt. And then he went, done.
Oh,
And so, yeah,
Yep.
he was like, I have one model that survived and it's touching your objective.
That's it. That's your typical capture and protect game of nothing happens and then someone touches the person whose second turn touches their opponent's objective and wins.
It's for tournament organizers who want their OP of their players to be really low.
yeah, right, exactly. I think, and it's a good point that you mentioned there. Yeah, you don't have to pick up that beacon; you just have to touch it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Learn that lesson?
Yeah. Well, it's good that you learned that not during the tournament.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been a harsh one to learn turn 3 of a tournament.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, so yeah, everything was set up. Last couple of things to mention were prizes. So we had a shitload of prizes because I think we had some like a whole bunch of stuff left over from previous times, and we also had I think was it last year or the year before, we had a special trophy cut by Ryan from Brutal Cities, which was this awesome brutalistic logo of BCB on a kind of plinth type thing that if you looked at it in the right way, it became the flame logo of BCB. And that went to Best Table, I think, a couple of years ago. But it was so like loved, and everyone like people were like, "Oh no, this is the best thing ever." We decided to make it again this year, but for first place. And not only did we make it cut, we also got one of Nick Toohill's, who used to be on the cast, his friend, who's a painter. She painted it up, and really, really great job. I don't know if do we have a photo of that. I know that's probably just
I'm picking one up now.
Yeah, which was really well done. It had a bunch of graffiti on it with a whole bunch of like, Tano was a mistake, the usual kind of memery that we get.
It became more of like, it's like something you could almost add onto your table itself. It's like a modern art piece where if you look at it the right way, it turns into the flame, but it's been put in some area or a bunch of kids have spray painted it and put graffiti all over it and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it was really good. And it was a good little display piece for the Cascuda and Maximus.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes.
Wow, nice work. Oh, like the Homer Simpson.
This is one competent hobbyist, which is Georgia and her husband, or boyfriend or husband, Instagram page. He does all the gaming, she does all the painting. So together they make one competent hobbyist. And so there's some wonderful pictures of this beautiful, beautiful trophy.
Go back. Is that a reptilian meme there?
Yes, I think so.
Yes,
Nice.
There's a couple of really fun little things, and my favorite definitely is the
this one here.
Aleph Go Home.
Yeah.
From
Holy Grail.
from Life of Brian.
Life of Brian, yes.
Yeah. There's Kevin represented, Omni Shambles.
Yes. She put the ITS names, I think myself, Nick, and Peter up there as well. They're hidden in there somewhere.
Wait, is that I won BCB and all I got was this shit trophy or something?
Yes, something like that.
I won BCB and all I got was
Stupid
this
trophy.
stupid trophy.
Stupid trophy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was the intention when we asked to commission this thing, was it was to be a trophy but also functional, so it can actually be placed and used on a table, because there's plenty of like, partial cover zones there. It looks really nice on a cityscape. It would fit into a lot of tables. So I'm yet to see any of these on a table yet, but I'm hoping that John will make use of that, because he took it away with him as the winner. All right. And then and so then lastly, before we get into it, is the scoring that we did and I have been doing for the last 2 BCBs now, but just to mention it again to our listeners, it was all digital. So the Peter, who's a whiz on Excel, created an online Google sheet or a Google form where at the end of your game you would put your score in, put your opponent's score in, and then your opponent would do the same, and then that would get sent to a spreadsheet, and it would get validated, and it would do the pairings based on that, which was really handy because it means that you don't have to have a TO sitting at a table the entire time inputting scores. And it also means it puts it back on the player to enter their own scores correctly and then get it validated by their opponent. What did you guys think of that? I mean, we've been doing it for a while, but is it still?
It also means you don't have to rely on the, I'm going to put it politely and say, less than stellar programming of OTM to do your pairings for you and everything like that. So Peter's Excel spreadsheet generates pairings, randomizes those pairings onto tables, and so you don't have to touch OTM at all during the tournament, which means that there's no chance of any like big mishaps or anything like that. You just have to make sure that both players score and then those scores match each other.
Yeah. The only thing that Peter's one doesn't do, and because it would require more coding, is it doesn't assign tables. Well, it does assign tables, but it doesn't like know if you've played on that table before. So, which is fairly easy to work out. Players just have to move to a table that they haven't played on before, and there's usually always one. But I know we did get constant and people asking, "I've already played on this table." I'm like, just move to another one. It's fine. Talk to the people next door.
Players don't have a lot on their mind over the weekend. They can put some of their mental capacity into.
They can work it out.
Talking to their fellow players and jumping across to another table. That's fine.
Yeah. We also did online. We also did, as part of your scoring as well, we also did a sports score and a painting score. Now, I personally really like this method of it, because typically how it gets done at things like CanCon or other big or other large events is your painting score or your painting is usually judged like at lunchtime on day 2, where people put like armies on parade, and then people will go around and like check a box or write the name down of the person they like the most, and then that person then gets awarded best painted. And then for sports scoring, there's usually at the end of the 5 rounds, there's usually some sort of like, who is your favorite opponent, and you will number it 1 to 3, or you'll just pick one player depending on how it works. Now, which is fine, but I like the way this works for a couple of reasons. One of them is the painting score means that you are judged by each of your 5 opponents, and it's based on a rubric, so it's not it's essentially a case of like, so long as everything is painted, you will at least get the baseline average, and then anyone who is above and beyond will get higher. That just kind of adds a bit more granularity to it, and also it means you don't have to take your army out, put it on a table at lunchtime, remember to take it back at the end of lunch, and also means that players who are like busy don't have to go over to a table and judge a whole bunch of armies in between lunch when they're probably just trying to like have a break. So I find that is just better, just for the running of the event. And then with sports scoring, it's good to have it at the end of every round for a couple of reasons. One of them being it's fresh in your memory, so you know what score to give that person rather than waiting until the end of round 5. And then second of all, these scores go back to the TOs. So if somebody does get a particularly low sports score at the end of round, at the end of a round, us as TOs can go to that player and say, hey, Well, first of all, to the player that gave this low score, hey, what's wrong? Did this person, is this person? Because I know on round 1, somebody gave another player a 1, and when we went over to ask them, they're like, "Oh no, sorry, I got the scoring the wrong way around. I thought a 1 meant a 5." So like that sort of thing. We're like, okay, fine, that's good.
The best game of Infinity you've ever played.
Yeah, but I'm like, also maybe don't give them a 5, like, because like it's based on it's based on a 1 to 5, or 1 being the worst game you've ever had and 5 being the best game you've ever had. We generally,
I
sorry,
I do appreciate that rubric, especially for the best sports where, and I think you've laid it out for probably the last couple of tournaments where it's like 3 is like your typical game of Infinity. So like if you have, what you would normally have on sort of like a casual game, you got some rules questions like between opponents and all that, but ultimately you enjoyed the game. Like that's a 3. It's like the 4 and 5s where you really start enjoying the game. And I can imagine for the most part, the best sport probably gets like a couple of probably the same amount of 3s and 4s and like a 5.
yeah,
Right?
usually
It really gave someone a great game.
Yeah.
And it makes it, I don't know, it makes it like a really easy sort of decision.
It also means that you're not comparing your opponents. You're grading each of them independently.
Yeah, exactly.
So if someone goes up against 5 people who are all kind of, they were good games, but I wouldn't like seek them out to play again. One of those is going to be their best opponent, whereas someone who has 5 absolutely amazing games, those 2 would normally end up giving the same score to one of their opponents.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it.
Whereas in this, it's independent of who else you played.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that way of thinking about it. Actually, yeah, I didn't really think about that before, but that does kind of give you a more true representation of good opponent.
Yep.
So I suppose the only thing I might suggest doing with the scoring is, like with and this is for the painting, is lumping silver surfers and like 2 into 1 to allow a little bit more granularity at the top. Because I understand the reason why they have that sort of armies on parade idea is the fact that the people that put their armies on parade are generally the people who put on effort, who know that they've got a chance of winning. And the way that it's done at the moment is most people, I suppose, only get like between a 4 and a 5. And you might see it a bit different if like 3 is a really good tabletop and 5 is this, like proper professional painting, where right now really 5 is anywhere from really good tabletop to professional painting.
Well, no, because 3 is supposed to be just like colors, like 3 colors and everything, basing on everything. It's like standard tabletop. 4 is like additional detail, and then 5 is like you've got a display board, you've got like fancy basing going on, you've got some really good freehand. I mean, yes, I think there's potentially a room there to increase it to marks out of 10. I know they do that for Arc 40k, and that just adds a bit more layering to it, where you can be a 5 to a 7, and that's like, good to, standard to good, and then 8, 9, 10 is, amazing. So there's a possibility we could.
I think I agree with Jacob's suggestion, because right now we've got 5 points of granularity, but 2 of them are taken up by not completely painted.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And those, not too sorry to say, but we don't care about. Like,
yeah,
it's basically you've got 2 categories out of 5 for didn't meet the requirements.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that makes
sense.
So
if you toss that all down into the minimum, then you've got 1 more point to judge between the armies.
Okay, yeah. So
I suppose like to take it back to Warhammer, it would mean that you could have 5 would be the difference between like really good gradients and all that sort of thing, and putting a sort of freehand, how like the guys in Warhammer do those like murals on the shoulder pads of dudes, sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense actually. Yeah. So a 1 is just anything less than 3 colors based minimum.
Exactly.
And then a 2
One is not completely painted.
Yeah, and then 2 is completely painted, and then actually that's a good feedback. We can definitely do that for next year. Cool. All right, okay, let's get into it, boys. So preparation. We're gonna get into the lists now. We'll go round table. We'll hit on your lists. We'll hit on your army, the reason for choosing the army, your how many games you got in, and if there's anything that you were particularly concerned about leading into BCB that you were trying to, I guess, get better at. So who wants to? Who have got up first? We got Jacob up first. So Jacob, do you want to take it away, friend?
Yeah. Okay. So as far as preparation goes, I try to practice at least on the standard Thursday at House of War that we have. Try to get through each of the missions. I think the one that I managed to not do a lot of was probably Cryogenics, and then what's it called? Bloody Cryogenics and Capture and Protect. As far as choosing Bakunin, I don't think I really had necessarily a reason for choosing Bakunin. As far as actually getting doctors and paramedics on the field, Bakunin actually kind of struggle at it. They've got the Reverend Healers.
They've got what?
They've got a cup. Yeah, they've got they've got Ribera, and they do have Avicina, so they could do an okay job at them. But generally, you're not going to have all 3 of those. Maybe you could think of fitting 2 of those in a particular list, but I mean, as you can see in this list, I've only got 1 doctor.
They're not a particularly speedy army either, are they?
Yes, Bakunin have everything except for speed. That's the one particular thing that they lack.
I mean, they're slightly the way that you've decided to play them is slightly more mobile than the standard Riot Girl Castle Core.
This particular list is when we go to my second list, you can see it's a bit more castle-y. But you did hit the nail on the head. This was my more mobile list. So the idea of this list is you've got Kusanagi, Mother Barbera, and the Custodia that can, as well as the Penitent, Orphan, and the Reverend Moira that can move out independently in a core and a Harris, 3-man core, and obviously a Harris. The point of this is to try and keep the strength that I find that that Bakunin have is the fact that they have access to both smoke and white noise. So the Custodia is able to put white noise down for Kusanagi, the Kusanagi Mother Agatha link, but can also put that down for the Penitent Harris because you've got that repeater in the Orphan.
Oh yeah,
you've got some order efficiency in the Reverend Moira because she's got NCO, so she's able to use the moderator's lieutenant order. Then at that point, for the most part, it's pretty standard. You've got a lot of moderators there to back things up, and moderator hacker because it's super cheap. They've got decent whip. And it's good for putting spotlight on things. The second group is essentially there to power the Morlock. If you find that you have a need to power a Morlock with it's impetuous, it's irregular, and 4 orders, as well as potentially powering the Stempo if you find a need for doing that. The Initiated, the idea was to have a midfield repeater to be able to put out that that white noise zone. However, I found in most of my games that my opponents had such strong hacking that strong hacking, not only that, but killer hacking, that if I put down that repeater, I'd just be hurting myself.
Is she a specialist as well?
No,
Oh.
I don't think that one is.
That one's not a specialist. Right, okay, it's not. It's just the surprise attack, infiltration, camouflage, 1 use with submachine gun, depth rep. Okay, and you felt like you didn't actually need to use that mine layer. You didn't want
I wanted to.
No,
I wanted to, but every game I played, except for I think against TAC, which I didn't use this list, it was either Morats with a bunch of Darthok killer hackers or another Nomad list that could have had a bunch of killer hackers. It just wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All it meant was it gave my opponent in their active turn a way of killing my Custodia without getting near it.
Yeah,
So I just didn't do it.
that's fair enough. Just a quick
And
on the list.
yeah,
Why the DA Morlock and not the Assault Pistol Morlock? Just curious.
Top of group 2.
Oh,
Yep. Oh, never mind.
you know what? That would have been because I think for while I was practicing for at some point, I thought that BCB had looting and sabotage.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because the assault pistol one has an APCC weapon, whereas the non-assault pistol one has a DACC weapon, which makes it better in CC. But then sometimes having that burst 4 can be quite tasty.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't. I can probably count on like one hand the amount of times in this particular list the Morlocks actually got close to fucking anything.
Yeah, no, I mean it's personal preference. I'll commonly see the assault pistol one being used unless it needs a DA.
I think in my other one I generally actually tend to take the EM CC weapon.
Oh, is that more expensive?
No, still 6 points.
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, so it is. Yes.
It's just flat better than the DA, to be honest. The reason you take the DA is if you need anti-material.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Which you didn't, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't take this list a huge amount.
What was it meant to be for?
I think it was meant to be for
Frontline.
It was meant to be for Frontline for the maneuverability, which I did use it in Frontline, and it was meant to be for Cryogenics.
Okay.
Another one that needed sort of a lot of like small teams to grab like hostages and bring them back.
Sounds good.
HVTs, sorry.
All right. What is your second list?
Okay, so this is the one I probably ran more and probably looks a little bit more familiar. So that's a pure Reverend call. So Mother Agatha, Custodia, two two Reverend Moiras, one with a heavy machine gun with a multi-sniper and then a Cenobite. You got Brando Castro, a Chimera with two Pupniks, Stempers, two Salutes, then Taskmaster, two Morlocks in that special fire team that they have, and two Transductors.
Yeah, this one definitely looks a bit more. Although, well, I mean, it's still interesting because you've got a pure core of Reverends as opposed to something like a Riot Girl.
Yeah. Look, this is like, if I had to give a reason for taking Bakunin, it was partly because I wanted to really see if the changes that they made when they updated Bakunin meant that the Moiras had become more viable. And I just think that they definitely are, because Mimetism -6 is just a bastard for people to deal with. But anyway, this is just meant for sort of scenarios where you needed defense. So capture and protect was one of them, as well as decapitation was another one. And what was the one we had? Which one? Oh, and supplies. Supplies was another one to allow the HMG and the sniper to try and roll in 15s and get some good shots at the supply boxes. There's nothing really too weird or wonderful here. Mother Agatha's there to heal up any Reverends. The Custodia is there to put down white noise if I need it, which is great for things with like MSV1 or just MSV at all, because it takes me losing my Mimetism -6 and suddenly I get it back because they can't see me through the white noise.
Yep.
Should be they don't have Sixth Sense. Brando was there for assassination pieces, runs to get things in someone else's deployment. I just always over-infiltrated him. So far, he hasn't let me down. One day I'll roll above that 16, but it hasn't happened yet. I'll come back to the Chimera. And then the rest is just orders. The Stemper just gives the tactical awareness order, and the decent shooting with the marksmanship that it has at the moment. The Taskmaster Morlock Harris has been consistently doing work for me, especially when you make the Taskmaster your Master Breacher. That model being able to just run straight through decompression zones, getting an extra inch depending on the scenario, it's just been invaluable. The Crazy Koalas have been great. I think in my last thing, I don't know, I'll get to that later. Probably the one good thing about it. And then the transductor zones are just there for orders. The Chimera, again, is sort of there to do kind of the same sort of job as Brando. But if the opponent's stuck in the midfield, as well as to drop Eclipse grenades. When I was playing, I found that if I had 3 Pupniks, I just struggled to find a place to put 3 models at the beginning of the game, and they just sort of got under each other's feet. I found that if I dropped one, I was able to move the Chimera around better. Didn't have to worry about trying to not get hit by a missile launcher, a heavy rocket launcher, or something like that. And I didn't really lose much, to be honest. I also found that whenever I fought a Chimera, one Pupnik just died. Would just have to be sacrificed at some point. And so, yeah, I just found that if you just shrunk it to 2, both of the Pupniks stayed alive more often. You were able to get into, you were able to jump 2 of them and the Chimera onto a model and just crush them.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's 1 point. I don't know where you'd find 1 point in a way, but yeah, I think it makes sense. Playing around with it, you don't have to have 3, although 3 is seen as being the optimal number. But I get what you mean from a deployment and movement standpoint.
Yeah, I just found that I always had to at some point sacrifice a Pupnik. So why spend the point?
Yeah, was that
essentially what it could do? Is essentially it meant that instead of the Custodia having a boarding shotgun, I think the lieutenant might be. I don't even think the lieutenant can have a boarding shotgun. It meant that I could take the combi rifle one because I think the difference is 1 point.
Right, and that core, I'm assuming that's the sniper rifles up an ARO, and then they're moving out with the HMG from turn 2, or is this a turn 1? Are you pushing this thing out turn 1? Because I'm kind of looking at I'm kind of looking at this list, going right. Okay, so supplies. Who's going out to get the supply box on first and second turn? And the only thing that I can see that is the Stempler. So. Other than the core.
Oh yeah, so if I can, yeah, the core will move out, grab the stuff, and then pull back.
Okay.
And yeah, the Stemper is there to just if I'm in a good position and the Stemper can just go out and grab something, it's quick, goes out, grabs something, pulls back.
Yeah.
And I go back to defending because, like I said, Bakunin don't really have a lot of speed, but what they do have is that Mimetism -6, which saved me so many times throughout the tournament. That if everything goes okay, I've got the orders to just spend on a Stemper to grab everything.
Yeah, it's just interesting because you're saying that it's difficult moving a Chimera and 3 Pupniks around, but you're happy to move an entire core out of your DZ, all of them 4/4 move to go pick up a supply box and run back. I would never do that. I would just find it.
The difference is that the Moiras can shoot back.
Yeah, they can shoot back.
The Pupniks can't.
Yeah, you just don't want someone to pop a Noctifer or something. I mean, the Noctifer will probably miss anyway because everything's min -6. But yeah,
yeah, true. But
so miss more often than not, in my experience.
Yes, they certainly do. But, yeah, cool.
But ultimately, to be honest, my kind of plan for supplies was to defend really hard, waste my opponent's orders, and then grab the boxes off of them.
Mm-hmm. Because Bran is a specialist as well if you need him to be, but you can obviously just go and assassinate a box carrier with him instead.
There's also the PSU, which you get for free, which is a specialist. So.
Oh yeah. Although I think I've heard being whip 12 is not something you want. I know Hugh had a pretty shitty game of supplies, I think, with this free CSU being whip 12. I think you got.
I don't know what you're talking about. I got mine first go. So
I think he rolled up
that's made
the
up.
8-4 move on the CSU, and then proceeded to just whiff like 4 rolls and went.
Oh,
And he's like,
no.
"Oh fuck, I didn't need this to happen." You're like, "Woohoo, whip 4, yeah, like moving 8-4, woohoo, go get it." Oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess was there anything you were concerned about going into BCB with this list?
Yes.
Or
So
opponent-wise?
this was going to be my decap list, and as you can see, the lieutenant's a hacker.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew from past tournaments that nomads had been making lots of appearances. So one of my big concerns was that someone would just stage dive a killer hacker to kill my custodia, because they would know that it's my lieutenant.
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern with this list.
And if you were going,
But being
sorry, go ahead.
being nomads, there's not really like
Yeah.
there wasn't a great choice for a lieutenant, and I'll talk about my decap experience later. Is that both my assumptions on all the other lieutenants and my assumptions about my list were completely spot on.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll move on to the next person. Who will that be? Josh?
It'll be myself.
Okay, good.
Woo.
All right. What have we got?
All right. So I played JSA, mostly because I crashed and burned at CanCon with Vanilla Aleph, and decided to go to something that I was a little bit more comfortable on for the year. JSA was my first faction. I did pretty well on my first BCB. And with the bike changes, I liked the Aragoto Killer Hacker as a very quick specialist piece, even though we don't get any bonuses from the paramedics bonuses for this tournament. The other thing that I really wanted to do was roll out the power couple. So having Shinobu and Miyamata Musashi in one list meant that I was like, I get to have CC, you don't get to have CC. I will CC everything and you won't touch me. I hate you all. So that, like, both of my lists had the power couple in it. And then from there, I just decided to change them up based on the mission selection. So this is my first one, which is sort of a pretty standard JSA list. In that you have a Karakuri, Damaru, Yuriko link. More often than not, that has a Oyama in it instead of who's the character Damaru, who has tactical awareness. In it as over the normal
Neko.
Damaru. Yeah.
Okay.
Neko Oyama is his name.
Yeah.
Takeshi Neko Oyama. He's a Whip 14 lieutenant, but I decided to downgrade him to get some extra things in the Kisotsu core, which you'll see as the next part of the list, which was a core of a Kisotsu paramedic, a Kenpai chain of command, a Kenpai MSV2 shock marksman rifle, a Kisotsu HMG, and a Kisotsu missile launcher. They rounded out group 1 as nine orders, and then I had a 6 stack in group 2 with an Aragoto Killer Hacker, Yojimbo, a flashball spot, just a regular or baggage bot, Musashi, and a war core. This one was for the sort of more specialist focused missions. So you capture and protect, supplies, and it was also there for Cryogenics. Yeah.
Did you miss out the fact that you had Shinobu in this first combat group as well, or did I miss?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Shinobu in the first combat group as well,
Yeah.
which is the only place that she should be, right up the top there as the first thing you put in your JSA lists in your first combat group. Bam. I like a 9-6 split. There's not really much else to talk about. This is just a very standard list.
Well, I mean, it's standard, except you've got Musashi in there, right? That's kind of, to me, is like, what the fuck's he even doing there? Like, what is the purpose? What is his purpose? My purpose
Musashi
is he's like
Musashi-
Shona. He's like Shona, but doesn't have super jump
He's
or a gun.
6'4" of 8 inches of fuck off. That's my he's like, stay away from me. The the whip 15 flash pulse came in quite handy. Because Miyamoto Musashi likes to throw pocket sand and stun his targets before he stabs them with 2 big swords. Yeah, I like Musashi. I think he's just a fun sort of pocket piece for me. He's just a vanity piece.
Yeah, no, he's 24 points, half an SWC, which is fine. Like, yeah, I mean, he's like does he have no wind in cap, or is he just a nice single wound?
He's got no wind in cap, shock immune.
Okay, yeah. So he's a little bit durable. Does he have mimetism or anything?
No.
Right.
I mean, he's 6'4", like close combat monster. I think he's almost the epitome of a model that, and we didn't have it. But if we had like acquisition or something, and you had to get into the middle, pop smoke down, and
he's got no smoke.
Musashi's...
He's got no smoke.
Yeah, but Yojimbo does.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else does.
And Shinobu does.
Yojimbo and Shinobu are your only sources of smoke. He's got no gun to get up the field. He's got no mimetism to get up the field. He's 6'4" move, sure, but he'll just...
He's got a 6-inch cautious move, Kevin. He's stealthy. It's fine.
I'm not telling you he's bad. I'm just telling you he's bad.
Yeah. Look.
He's great once he's in close combat.
He's also quite
a plan to get him there.
He's also quite a good master breacher.
Sure.
Having him not having
7'4",
7'4" in some missions and running through those decompression zones just makes him just a little bit more fun.
I know. I dig him. I dig him as I do dig him as a vanity pick, as a bit of a close combat monster. Like, he seems fun to use. The Karakuri Domaru Yuriko is interesting as well. I would have thought Karakuri aren't like the best gunfighters, but I don't know what else
They are the best gunfighters in JSA, apart from the Oyuroi.
What about Fat Boy? Is he not a better gunfighter?
They're the same. They're the same.
So would you have had Fat Boy instead of Karakuri? I can't remember the name of the Fat Boy.
Daiokai, yeah, Fat Boy.
Yeah. Would a Daiokai have been like? Is that more common to see a Daiokai rather than the Karakuri?
No.
Okay, really, no.
You're forgetting that Karakuri are Structure 3 dragging an engineer along with them.
Structure 3 total immune, remote presence. They are just so much. They're so tanky. They're also an extra specialist because they're forward observers. They have every gun that you could want.
Yeah,
that's
true.
True.
They're actually like, they seem expensive on the face of them, like kind of, but then you take a look at what they actually offer, and it's tons.
Yuriko being the engineer is nice because otherwise you'd have to have a paramedic, and you don't really have those. So yeah, Yuriko makes a good option. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're fine. And then, of course, I can't let you go without bringing up the fact that you put in Keisatsu HMG in that core. Goodness me, like
burst 5 is burst 5. It doesn't matter how you get your burst 5. I have burst 5. Look, it's one of. I mean, if you count the TR bot, it's one of 3 HMGs in the faction. It's like you can't reach past 24 in JSA very easily, and especially with any burst, and having like even a BS13 in that core link. He's a fairly decent backup active turn gun. I used him semi extensively in the games that I played with that link.
Cool.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to see it'd be nice to see in your games how it got on. So anyway, I guess we were about to get moving on with your second list.
Yeah, second list was for specifically written for Frontline and
Daddy Yokai
and Decapitation. Yes, it is called Daddy Yokai.
Daddy Yokai. Oh god.
So once again, this is a Harris of the core in Group 1 along with Shinobu. So a Harris of Daiokai, Kisatsu Paramedic, and Yuriko Oda. Sort of semi-obvious there why that's the Kisatsu's the glue, Daiyokai's the gunfighter, Yuriko's there to grab boxes and pick up and destate the Diokai if we pick up a hack along the way. We've got our what we sort of consider a normal Kisatsu core there, with a missile launcher, paramedic, hacker, and 2 regular old Kisatsus. Mishashi, because we love him. Yojimbo, because he's the best. An Oniwaban lieutenant, which might be the most odd piece in this list. Flashball spot, Ryukin heavy rocket launcher, and a war core. The reason that this was for decap, with the reason that the Oniwaban lieutenant's there is it's the safest lieutenant in JSA. It's a Whip 14 lieutenant that sits in a Neg 6 marker state and doesn't
do anything. It dares you to come get it.
Basically, yeah. It has a boarding shotgun. It doesn't have like no ending cap or anything like that, but it just says, "Hey, what are you gonna commit to this? Because I don't think you're gonna get there."
At the very least, it's like an order sync. Just to get rid of it.
Yeah, and the Diokai has NCO, so we've got a bit of that going on.
That's true. Yeah, it's not completely useless.
What it also does in Frontline is it provides 40 points in the middle of the table on the highest point, prone somewhere that you know you're not going to use it because it's the lieutenant and you don't have a chain of command piece in there. So you get to place this 40 points wherever you like. If you want it over infiltrate it, you can, because it's infiltration +6. But I just put it on the halfway line somewhere fairly inaccessible to my opponent and promptly forgot about it until scoring was added up in Frontline.
I like it.
That would be a mean piece if you over-infiltrated it into his line, because I can see an opponent just forgetting that he's there. And be like, oh yeah, I've got like this one thing holding it. You're like, is it more than 38 points? They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I can see people just being confused by this.
I think people are sort of less inclined to forget about it when you say this is landing on a 15 and I'm going to put an X6 camo marker in like right next to your DZ. They're sort of more inclined to go after it. But if you just put it on the halfway line, people sort of forget about them.
Is there anyone that could be? Is there anything else that could be in the army? No.
It could be Shinobu.
No. Yeah, other than only.
Oh no, because the roles are different, aren't they?
They are.
No. But I mean, just deploying it normally, you couldn't fake your opponent out and pretend it's something else.
Oh, it could be a Ryukin heavy rocket launcher, I guess, or a ninja or something.
It could be a Ryukin, but Ryukins don't have infiltration, do they? No,
they don't. That would have to be deployed in the DZ. I deploy it in the DZ and decap, but I put it.
But the Ryukin also has mine layer, right?
Yeah, but you don't have to put the mine down. It's
okay, yeah. So you so that's kind of what I'm getting at is you could fake it out as being another Ryukin.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, cool. I like it.
Yeah, so it's like it's fine. It's like I really enjoyed this list. There's nothing really else to say about it apart from I've got my favorite pieces in there. In the Ryukin, Minamata Mishashi, Shinobu, and Yojimbo.
Did you, when you were practicing, because I'm obviously noticing a lack of it, I guess practice with Daikais, not Daikais, Domarus and Tankos, did you just find that they were too expensive, they just weren't working for the scenarios, or did you always sort of gravitate to, I'm going to hold things down with Keisatsus and walk around with Shinobu, Harris, and I guess Musashi?
I prefer investing fewer points in something that's eventually going to die anyway. So having a Tanko missile launcher is all well and good, but you're kind of just going, hey, I've got this 27-point piece that's going to die. I like having my 14-point piece as the piece that's going to die. And then for Frontline, I can advance everything else up and then they all occupy the midfield.
I suppose as far as ballistic skills go,
it's the same.
The Tanko and the Kisotsu, there's only 1 point of BS difference between like a 5-man linked Tanko and a 5-man linked Kisotsu.
Significantly more points investment in a
exactly
with tankers in it.
Yeah.
Because tankers can only be in the Domaru core, so they can't. If they could be in the Kusatsu core like they can in Ikari, I would 100% be running a Tanko-led Kusatsu core. There would be
right.
no doubt about it.
I thought you could do that. Right. Okay.
No, not in JSA. You can in
Ikari.
Obviously, I've got my mercenaries on. I'm going to turn those off because Avicenna is definitely not in. So unfortunately, can't have the Tankos as part of the Kusatsu fire team in JSA.
Oh yeah, no, that makes way more sense. Actually, I thought you could. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
No.
Was there anything that you were particularly worried about or looking forward to, or with these lists or going up against certain opponents you were concerned about?
These lists were sort of slightly more experimental. I tried to sort of steer away from things that would be affected too much by hacking. Obviously, the Daiokai is chronically affected by hacking. But and so is the Karakuri as my sort of main hit pieces, but you can't sort of get around that in JSA. The next closest thing you can have is an Aragoto, and that's a fat base with a Spitfire and that. The sort of mostly I was sort of majorly afraid of going up against like some big heavy armor pieces, which we'll come up to in my game against Frank in military orders in Frontline. Was a difficult game for me to get through, but because like there's not much AP. We've got a multi-marksman rifle with +1 damage. Yeah, there's not a lot of ways to crack armor in JSA in general, apart from hitting them with a big sword.
Yeah, but
especially when your opponent can kind of go toe to toe with you in CC
with MO.
and not necessarily be at the disadvantage that you're used to people being at.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough. I mean, the other thing as well is I perennially like the challenge of having everybody running 14-point natural born warrior warbands, because I'm running 44-point martial arts level 5 people that's completely strapped by a 14-point natural born warrior warband. So look, it's fun, and so you gotta pick your targets. But it's basically like natural born warrior is the killer of JSA and the killer of these lists. Anything with too much mimetism as well is sort of a bit hard to get through, and too much armor. But thankfully, I didn't have to deal with that too much. Not a huge amount of tags running the field in this tournament. So happy.
Well, we'll get into that shortly, hopefully. All right, so let's get into our third and final lists. Nick.
Yep.
I'm good.
So while he brings it up, so I picked Ramah because I basically started N4, or I restarted Infinity after a few editions. Last BCB with Ramah, and I wanted to take him through a full year and see how I'd improved over the year.
Yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to hearing your lists, because I know as a fellow Ramah player, I would like to see how other people are using them.
Already seeing some big differences between your lists.
I have to say, just looking at Josh's lists and Nick's lists, Josh's lists give me almost sort of a headache at the fact that like they seem so messy because it's a sectorial, but it's a bunch of different profiles. I'm looking at Nick's and going, oh look, there's like 4 Gulams and 3 Fanus. I can deal with that.
If I could take 3 flash roll spots in JSA, I would. I would.
You would have them.
Give us 3 Yao Kongs in JSA, please. CB.
All right, let's take it away, Nick.
Yeah. So first list was. I guess start with, I wrote my lists for specific missions. That way, when I get to the tournament and I get to the table, I don't have to think about what list to play. I have a list that's for that mission, and unless there's something that comes up that causes me to say I need to go to the list, which did happen in one mission, it's one less thing to think about. So list A was for Cryogenics Frontline supplies. It's basically my more mobile, more offensive as far as movement list. So start off with full core. So the Zayden HMG, Gulam Lieutenant, Gulam Doctor, Gulam NCO, Grenade Smoke Grenade, and Gulam Hacker. Then had the Nahab Parachutist or Nahab Specialist in a Parachutist, Mukhtar Doctor +3, and Karma Batard. You'll notice the lack of a Mukhtar MSV2, which I didn't take for the entire tournament.
That's 8 orders.
So
That's 8 orders in Group 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in Group 2, I have a Janissary Harris, which is an Alpha Sid HRL +1 burst, a Janissary Doctor, and Yar Haddad, backed up with 3 Fanus, so 3 flashbots. So it was a what would that be?
14 orders, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 14 orders and 1 starts off the board. So it's 13 orders you see on the board.
Yeah, right. So that's giving you six regular orders at the start of the. Sorry, 7 regular orders at the start of the turn 1.
Mm-hmm. So Goldat was basically set the core up to be a fire base for the first turn or 2. I've got the hacker in there, so I can run some Fanus up there and set up a hacking net if I think they're going to come into me. That way the hacker has Spotlight with 6th Sense. And then I've got the that lovely heavy Harris to just kind of slowly wander up the field. And a Burst 4 heavy rocket launcher is just so much fun.
Yeah, it's a hell of a drug.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that Harris. I have run it a couple of times. It is a bit chunky, and I find that I don't always have like points left to get other things I want, but I do really enjoy it. The HMG in the core, I guess, so that becomes your active turn gunfighter. You know, keep your head down, or I'll blow you away with BS-18 HMG.
Yes.
I'm assuming then the Dr. Mukhtar is kind of there to be your specialist.
Yeah, he's there as a specialist. He's also fast enough and a gunfighter enough that he can get in there with a boarding shotgun, but yeah, he's primarily there as the specialist midfield.
Yeah, because he's got +4 inches on his deployment and 6'2" move, so he's getting there fairly quickly on things like cryogenics and supplies. The Nahab, was that I know that's like a vanity pick for you, so is that just there because you love it so much, or was?
I just get so much work out of them. Having that come on as a parachutist, since it is a combat beast, it is NWI, it is a specialist, it has D charges, it can do many different things once it comes on, and honestly, some games I just wait until turn 3 once they've overextended and then bring on a boarding shotgun and remove a core.
Yeah, no, I do like it.
Yeah, but you're correct. That is one of my vanity picks.
Yeah. I find myself taking the KHD just as a bit of a flex, but then I like the fact that the boarding shotgun gives you the ability to place 2 templates on something. Whereas the killer hacker, sometimes you just have to rely on BS-12 SMG, and that doesn't always go so well.
No. So on the second list,
also you only got 1 lieutenant there. You have an obvious lieutenant in that list. So
I don't actually, because Yara Haddad has a lieutenant profile and is the same whip.
Yeah, okay.
However, most people don't know that, so yes, I agree. It has an obvious lieutenant. That was one of the sacrifices I made. I can't take anything out of this core to get another Gulam in there. I'm just gonna have to live with it.
Yeah, for me personally, I find myself either taking, so that I can have a decoy lieutenant, I find myself dropping I've dropped the NCO because I find the hacker is just more generally useful when you've got 3 Fanus. But I know it's sort of it's hard to either or. Yeah.
I just love to watch my opponents cringe when I go, so I burn my lieutenant order because I have nothing better to do with it, and I spec fire a grenade over onto your whatever, and I hit on an 8. What would you like to do?
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So second list was more defensive for capture and protect and capture, protect, and decap. So still, it's got a similar base to its build, and part of that is I wanted to play fully painted, and so I built my lists off of what I had painted plus what I thought I could reasonably paint before BCB. So it's got the same basic core, except for the Gula or the Zayadin is a missile launcher instead of HMG. It's got the Nahab parachuting specialist, but it's now also got the Nahab killer hacker infiltrating. Then group 1 is rounded up by 1 flashbot. So let's see.
That's getting 8.
So
orders.
That's 8 with 1 off the board.
And
then group 2 is a Sundeck Butt Neurokinetic Spiral Rifle, a Tuareg hacker, a Monstrucker with drop bears, a guided missile bot, and 2 flashbots plus carbon petard. So that is 6 regular plus, or no, sorry, 5 regular plus 2 irregular. So it is an 8-7 split with 2 models starting off the board.
Okay. I like the fact that you have the Nahab killer hacker and the Tuareg hacker on the table. I often struggle to fit both of those in. Or actually, 3, two Nahabs and a Tuareg. I guess the missile bot is there to complement the Tuareg. Did you think that was going to be a useful kind of tool?
It turned out to be, yes.
Okay.
So in one of the missions, the Tuareg ended up spotlighting stuff that tried to run past him, and then got to it, but they couldn't really turn it around to come back to him. And then in, for instance, Capture and Protect, as soon as something came in to try to grab it, it was spotlit, and it did not see past 1 order into my next turn.
Yeah, because you got 3 Fanus there as well to just sit near the beacon to spotlight things. Yep, that's cool. And then the Sundeck Butt just to be a dick.
Yes, because I figured Capture, Protect, Sundeck Butt with a barrel rifle, or the Burst 2 and ARO chain rifle would, and the fact that I've only got 1 -0 camo marker, so they know exactly what it is. They don't know what it's armed with or whether it's neurokinetics, but they know that potential is there to be scared of. Probably the model that I got more work out of than I thought I would was the Monstrucker, and I've been playing with her more now that we have Sundeck Butts in Ramah. And usually I just use her irregular order to slowly toss out drop bears. And by the time turn 3 comes around and people are trying to get somewhere, they find that there's a minefield there.
Yeah.
I wanted to fit a helper bot in for her, but I just could not find any points for it. So, I did have at least, I think, 2 opponents ask where her helper bot was, and had to say I could not afford one.
Right. No, that's fair enough. I guess you could drop a Fanus for a war, but then you'd have another regular order, and that's a bit awkward. Yeah, no, I like it. I too have started to experiment with Sundeck Butts now that they're in there, but I've been running them with Fiddler, obviously, because I'm a Fiddler, because I love Fiddler, and the 2 of them pair really well, but obviously much more expensive than a Monstrucker.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Was there anything that you were particularly keen or worried about, or trying to build this list?
Not particularly. I don't think I'm quite at the point yet where I'm tailoring lists to specific styles of opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy with I've got these lists for this type of mission and these lists for this type of mission, and we'll work with that.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Do we want to go for a really quick break before we get stuck into the 5 games?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. I will pause it now. And we're back, folks, for the second part of the show, where we're going to get into our 5 game. Well, the Josh, Jacob, and Nick are going to get into their 5 games that happened at Burn City Brawl. So, let's take it away. First of all, round 1, Jacob. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, round 1 for everybody was Cryogenics. It's playing on Kev's table. You can see there on the stream, the sort of like gated compound.
Yeah.
Sorry, fenced off compounds, sort of thing.
No, it's a gated
truly.
it's a gated compound in Florida. It doesn't let anyone with dark complexion in. No, it's so,
Yeah, so
I've
we're
seen
playing
too many
we're playing-
videos on YouTube. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's my table that was set up by Josh, yes, which we were talking about
Yeah,
at the top
so
of the
we
show.
were playing Cryogenics. I was playing Jordan and his Morats. I chose my more mobile list for sort of obvious reasons. I wanted to be able to try and get around the table, ideally, to try and touch buttons and get HVTs out and all that sort of thing. Jordan's list was, I suppose, kind of standard for Morats nowadays. Sort of a Vanguard core with a Yalgat and a Suryat, a couple of Dedarazi. Kornak was in the Vanguard core. A couple of Dedarazi, a Harris of 2 Harrises, one of the Daitok, Kaitok, and I can't remember the last one. It might have just been a Vang. Oh no, is the medic that's immune to being crit Rindak. And then another Harris, which was just the Hungries and the Osnats. And Osnat. So I think I had him go first and deploy first. I took second turn. And I think I made a mistake at the very beginning of this game, and I think it's a mistake that, from what I heard, a lot of people made against Jordan, which was I picked in the picture that's displayed now. I picked the far end of the table, and because of the way the table's laid out, with this like the compound is this diamond that's like 45 degrees, sort of like 45 degrees off. I just couldn't wrap my head. I just, for whatever reason, couldn't wrap my head around sort of the way it was laid out. Like parts of the compound, like felt like I would deploy in the compound, and that felt like not far enough in or too far in, and the places outside of the compound felt either probably felt too far back. But that's just the way it was. And to be honest, I think the way this table was laid out with the fences just had my head spinning for probably the first 2 halves of the game, where it didn't with Jordan. But the other problem is that the side I let Jordan had, which is the nearest side in this particular photo, had that building in the corner. And you can see with the 2 crates on the top of it, which I didn't think he could deploy on. I didn't think he had that. Again, like, I don't know. There's just something about this table just had me like getting everything wrong, all the distances and eyeballing it. I got everything wrong. And that meant that he could put his Suryat and his Yagat on top of that building. And that building looks over a fuck ton of the map. Right? With the biggest issue being that it looks at that gate on the far end.
Ooh. So
Right,
the
okay.
main way in to the compound from your DZ.
Yes. And the other thing is that if you could, like, to get over the fence, you do like a long skill climb.
Uh-huh.
It would mean that like I couldn't even get over the fence because I would climb jump up. He would see me out of cover standing up, and I just get fucking annihilated by a heavy rocket launcher. The
chat's up in there, Josh, on the screen.
Yeah, and so I think that was definitely a mistake that I made. I think it's was a semi common mistake because I heard someone else who played Jordan that was like I played Jordan. He got this like good Overwatch position. It's like what Morats do, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't kill the Suryat. I did end up getting lucky and killing the Suryat in one burst, but again, I got lucky. There's no way I could have gambled on that. At that point, I was desperate and just got lucky. It was a bit of a game where a lot of things kind of didn't go my way in the first turn. I ran up. So the list I chose was my two Harrises, I suppose, 3-man call and Harris with Kusanagi. Morlock ran up to the Osnat and fucking like rolled a 1 on the CC and just got obliterated.
No.
Then I tried to shoot. I think I had to spend like 4 shooting orders to kill a Gaki. And then I think I went up to like a Rendak and I just couldn't put any wounds out. It was not a great first turn. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I just forgot how to play Cryogenics and didn't go for the objectives enough. I don't know what was going on in my head in that first round, but Jordan just came out of the gates swinging, grabbed 3 objectives relatively quickly. I don't know if he got it in the first turn or he got it in the second turn. Didn't really matter. He pressed a lot of the buttons. Luckily, he did manage to get his Gaki all the way to my DZ, so he got his Impetuous unit, got to be kinged. Kinged. And luckily got one of my regular moderators in that list. Luckily, it wasn't the one that was my lieutenant.
Jordan is in the chat, and he was saying he was able to lock you out of the easy access to the compound.
Absolutely.
And he was able. It's interesting that he said he was able to press 3 buttons in the first turn, but then looking back at your list, Jacob, you don't really have any ARO presence to stop him. So I guess that's what makes that relatively easy, especially when he's got a Rindak that can, I think it's got Climbing Plus, right? Can just kind of get around the table fairly easy.
I think I underestimated the maneuverability of his list.
Mm-hmm.
I think I underestimated the maneuverability of Morats. I'm still a little bit in the old N3 Morats where they weren't particularly fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was him locking me out. The fact that I wasn't able to climb over the fences or anything like that.
There were holes in those fences, so you had a gate on. You would have had a door on both sides and then holes further up as well.
There was, and I would have used them if it wasn't for the one team that I wanted to get through, sort of near that gate, had an S5 model.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, because the holes I said are only up to S2. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so they couldn't get through. I would have crawled through like my Kusanagi Ribera team, but again they just didn't do anything. And yeah, so it was pretty much a wipe. I managed to pull back some points just here and there. Not really anything impressive. But yeah, that fire team just with the Suryat and the Yagat just sat there and denied me any sort of movement around the board.
Yeah.
He also did the right thing, which is something that I think, having not really dealt with hacking too much, I think I played too many non-hacking games when I was practicing like against non-hacking armies. Is I need to learn to protect that Custodia more, because I can't the amount of times I think people just stage dived killer hackers at them, killed them
Oh, did it
with
die?
no reaper.
Did it
Sorry?
died? It died in your game?
Yeah, he just threw a. I don't know when Morats got really good at hacking, but those Ditox just throw themselves
Yeah.
at you and
Ever
It
since
was in the
blow
Dark,
things
update.
up.
It was in the update
Dark,
last year.
ever since
Yeah.
Dartox were added to the game, yeah, they become really good at
Yeah,
hacking.
no, they're incredible. So yeah, and I spent the entire game like not knowing what the fuck I was doing. Because again, I don't
Good
know what
start.
happened with this.
Yeah, the tape.
I don't know what happened with this table,
The
but
table threw you for a loop.
I just could not. It was like an illusion. It was like an optical illusion to me.
Yeah. So like when the
but
table
yeah.
is set up, it is usually set up where yes, you should be able to access at least one or usually one building inside the compound. And then the rest of it is you have to make your way into. So either you can get access to one of the buildings in the compound to put a fire team on, or at the very least have access to the compound with some corners to nuke into. But generally, yeah, the rest of the army has to find their way in. And I can understand what you mean. The 12-inch line can be hard to spot when you're dealing with angles like that. So it's some good feedback. So what was the final score?
I think 9-4.
Okay. All right. So first round is a loss for you. Who is next?
I'll go next. Let's get my first. So I played on this table.
Ryan's table.
Ryan's table. I've had a bit of experience on this table. At CanCon, I got shock armied really hard on this table, and I was not keen to repeat my experience. Luckily, I was up against a mirror matchup. One of the 4 JSA players, Stefan, who's a local, being a local and being a JSA player, I may have seen his lists before the tournament because he sent them to me in order to check them out. Didn't help me much. It was basically, it came down to we drew.
We are one of 3
I was going to
draws.
say theme coming
One
along.
of 3
Yeah.
draws. So I didn't push any buttons. He managed to push 2 buttons in his first turn, and he did that by parking a ninja right up against one of the. So Stefan deployed on the side that you can see. I chose deployment. No, he won the roll and decided to go first, and I chose the deployment side that I was on, probably to my detriment. So he revealed a ninja next to the one on the building there, and picked that up pretty easily. It didn't have any HVT in it, and then Kuroshi ran up and grabbed the other one, becoming dogged in the process because she ate a missile launcher.
Lucky she just became dogged.
Yeah. No HVT in that one.
Oh no! Oh no! The curse of cryogenics strikes again.
Stefan over-infiltrated Shinobu, but didn't reveal Shinobu in. I should sort of specify his list. He had a core link, Kisotsu's. He had a little Harris of a Domaru Spitfire, a normal Domaru, and a Tanko. And then he had Kuroshi, Yojimbo, and a ninja killer hacker. So he over-infiltrated Shinobu, but didn't reveal her actually at all throughout the whole game.
Oh no!
But he did really well at just parking this little Domaru Harris right outside my doorstep. And I managed to do some fun things like outranging a suppressive Rushi with my Kisotsu HMG, which put it all the way to dead. And that was the first instance of my Kisotsu HMG just seeing blood. Because to round out the game, there wasn't really anything too special about this game apart from I managed to get a lot of flashes on him. Mushashi killed a Domaru in CC. I said, "Here, roll 9 saves, roll 7 saves," and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yep, the damage 17 AP as well." So yeah, do that, please. But in return, I got berserked. So the Musashi doesn't do much about getting berserked. So I managed to clear up some of his stuff, but and put him into loss of lieutenant because he had his Kuroshi was his lieutenant, which I killed in first turn.
Oh no.
Then he had a Kenpai chain of command, so I used Yojimbo to kill that before his at the end of my second turn. But
oh wow, how are you able to get into the core link with Yojimbo on this table?
So the way that he was positioned,
I guess there's not very many places to hide.
So his core link was on this. Can you see my cursor?
No.
So his core link was. Oh, you probably won't because I'm showing my screen. I'm not showing the window. So the core link was on the furthest little sniper tower that you can see. And the Kenpai was on the ground, tucked into some of these containers. And I just managed to get Yojimbo. I just suicide ran Yojimbo into the thing and killed it. Because I was like, I might as well just sacrifice these 20 points to put you in loss. That's fine. What I also did in my second turn was I moved my Kasatsu HMG out to kill a Tanko. And unfortunately, killing that Tanko put the poor boy in retreat, which meant that he pressed 2 buttons.
Oh no!
and I had 2 classifieds, and so it was a 2-all draw.
That's lucky that you got your 2 classifieds.
So I snatched a draw from the jaws of victory, as Peter eloquently put it.
Bugger.
And yeah, so I scored 2 classifieds, which very. Oh no! You know what it was? It was my Master Breacher. So I killed his Master Breacher first turn. I had my Master Breacher dominate 2 zones, which is my Karakuri, and I just put it on top of the big helipad thing that you can see in the top corner there, and just parked her there, and it just didn't manage to pull a HVT out of a box. Neither of us pulled a HVT out of a box. He scored 2 points. I scored 2 points. Bang on, 2-all draw, starting the weekend off real strong.
What a bugger. For those of you, I know we obviously, not people watching along or listening along on Spotify can't see this picture, but I was led to believe that giant building in the middle had some stuff on it, so you couldn't put anything on the roof. Did you guys discuss that before the game?
We did. So a lot of those sort of gubbonsy things that you can see sitting on that rooftop, they just jammed a bunch of scatter on top of that thing to stop people from deploying.
Yeah, but the picture that we're showing doesn't have that on top of the roof.
No, it also has the console on top of the helipad, and it wasn't there. It was underneath the sort of pillar.
I think we did it. I think after that photo was taken, we did some finagling and put that console on the ground or something like that.
Yes, I would have pressed that console had it been on top of the helipad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a tricky table to actually use the roofs because the roofs don't really have any parapets. So if you put anything on there, it's not that difficult to get some height.
It is
just see you and
it's like it's also strangely like it looks kind of open, but it's actually also strangely closed. There's not a huge amount of fire lanes. Like the helipad can sort of see like either side of the big building if you do some moving, and it's taller than everything else, so you've got cover basically guaranteed. And these sniper towers I see a lot, but are also seen by a lot. Yeah. So he put his Kusatsu missile launcher up there, and I just I neg 12'd it with a shock marksman rifle.
How can you neg 12 it with a shock marksman rifle?
I neg 9'd it. Sorry, I was in cover in his 0 range band in smoke. MSV2.
Oh, but wasn't it in a core?
Not by that point. I used Shinobu to zip through and kill a couple of things on the ground.
Of course, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice thematic table though. I like the trees, even though they're kind of pointless, and the road and the compound and stuff like that. It's kind of it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, you can discuss making the trees something special if you really want to.
Was that
Yeah.
that objective room that's hanging off the side of the table? I'm assuming that's supposed to be hanging off the side of the table.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and is it supposed to be infinite height or not?
We didn't play it as infinite.
Okay.
Or we did play.
I don't know if that make a difference or not. But
the line of fire never really crossed it, so we never.
Yeah,
it never really sort of. Yeah.
All right, so we got a loss and a draw. Let's see if Nick can bring it up to a win with his first game.
What table?
So my first game was on Little's table.
Okay, I've got that.
Yeah. So
easy handled.
Yeah, first game, get there, all excited, all these new players I've never met before. Get the pairings. I'm going up against James, who is probably the player that I have played the most in the past few months.
Damn, we tried as TOs to like obviously not make interstate players play other people they played before, but yeah, could only do so much.
I realized, though, it got me thinking, maybe I should use the grudge system to just pick a random player from out of state so I can make sure I play someone who I've never played before. Played on Lil's table that I helped set up the night before. Gotta say, the table is really coming along. It's got this weird mix of like dangerously exposed but high mobility walkways versus on the ground level you've got these like it's defensive but very restrictive walls and gates. So you have to kind of figure out which place you want to be, and they both have benefits and drawbacks. James is playing TAC. He won the roll and decided to pick sides and go second. So, this. So if you look at the picture, he was on the far side. I was on the near side. And I think, this was taken the night before, so all the objectives are already there.
Oh yes.
I deployed. He deployed. He was running, and I'm a little rusty at this. Cossack core that had, I believe, 2 missile launchers in it. He had Bakunin in that as well. He had some. I'm blanking. Impetuous engineers.
Irmandinos.
Yes, Irmandinos. And some antipodes, and some other stuff that I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, that said, as much as I have played him, he always surprises me. So, I went first, took out both his missile launchers, and kind of moved up, but didn't do a whole lot beyond that.
Which list were you running, by the way?
I was running the first list, so one with the HMG and the Harries.
Yep, cool.
Bottom of turn 1, he brings on a parachuting Spetsnaz and completely guts my core link. It is left with the Zayadin HMG and the NCO grenade launcher.
Oh no, it sounds like lost
this means I start turn 2 in loss of lieutenant. Great way to start off the tournament.
Right.
However, the number of orders he spent to do that meant he was 1 order short to get his Master Breacher out of his deployment zone.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was down to, like, we moved it as his last order, and then carefully measured it, because we didn't know if it made it out or not. And it was about an inch still inside of his deployment zone.
What was his Master Breacher?
Vet Cossack. I think Vet Cossack HMG, I want to say.
Yeah. And what was yours?
My Master Breacher was the Alpha Seed.
Okay. Cool.
So, my turn 2, I have 2 veterans and liberally spend command tokens. And because his Master Breacher was left slightly out in the open, I got my Zayadin up and took out his Master Breacher. So at this point, he has not scored his Master Breacher, and it no longer is on the table. After that, bottom of turn 2, he opens the 2 pods on his side, gets 1 HVT. Top of turn 3, I open my 2 pods on my side, get 1 HVT, and not terribly eventful beyond that. There was an incident where he did a wound to Carmen, I let her go dogged, I then doctored her back up, which meant that she was now in range to threaten his HVT.
Oh, you can't do that, actually.
Hmm?
You can't doctor a dogged model.
No, sorry, she did not go dogged.
Oh, she did not. Oh, she went unconscious. Yeah, right.
She did not use dogged. She went unconscious. I doctored her the next turn, and then that let her threaten his HVT because big base.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. It doesn't often happen. You usually just go because it was obviously it was in their turn, right? So
yeah, it was the end of his turn. Going like, how many orders do you have left? Okay, she'll just go dogged. Yeah,
she'll just go
unconscious. She will not go dogged.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is late already.
Yeah.
So in the end, I went up 10-5 because basically I had a Master Breacher and I got my Classified done, and otherwise we both played well. He just didn't have a Master Breacher to score points.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of stopping locking them out of points for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So we've had 1 win. That's good. All right, round 2. Back to you, Jacob. What have we got?
So I played one of the newer military orders players, probably one of the newest players. On this table. So this was Capture and Protect. So I was submarining super hard. Did we? I want to actually say the player's name. Where's there a place I can look at the list? I just want to find out.
I can find it while you keep going.
Okay, no, it's here. It's right here.
Second round, you played. Oh wait, hang on.
Probably Daniel.
You played Daniel. Yep.
Daniel. Oh yeah, new player from Melbourne. Yep.
Yeah. So after Jordan kicked the shit out of me, I'm obviously either setting up for the wooden spoon or the submarine really hard. So I played Daniel, who is a relatively new player. Looking at this particular map, we had a bit of a discussion about how to treat that big yellow landing pad that you can see there, mainly how to treat the underneath of it.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to treat sort of the very center of the landing pad as solid, and then you can go like in the legs and what have you.
Hang on. What, sir? What do you mean? So this it's like a construction crane type thing, and you're saying what?
No, the landing pad.
The landing pad.
Oh, sorry, the landing pad. Yeah, right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So we treated sort of the center of that as solid, just because if not, there's no real way out of that deployment zone with any sort of like decent cover.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Other side, and I think I won the roll off. I think I won the roll off. Deployed second and chose the far side in this picture again. But he did hard second turn me.
Oh, interesting. And Capture and Protect. So you chose sides, and he chose second turn.
Yeah, so I got all the deployment advantages.
Ooh. Okay. Was that because he was a new player, or was he trying to big brain you?
I think a bit of both. I mean, it is Capture and Protect, so there is advantage to going second if the game's like going okay, because you can kill the carrier. Yeah. So I took my frontline list, which is a little bit more defensive. But it also, because you don't need a specialist to pick up the crate. The
beacon.
Hopeful idea was that I was going to run my moderator as the master breacher, not the moderator, Taskmaster as the master breacher with the Morlocks down to his deployment zone, grab it like turn 2, hold it, and then slowly like sort of bring it back to the deployment zone. And I think Daniel, being a new player, deployed a lot of guys. Some of them not in cover at all, and some of them in sort of like really, like I suppose, would be aggressive AROs.
Mm-hmm.
Which I tried to so like being a new player, I wasn't trying to go like super hard on him. But I was going to like punish the bad deployment a little bit, I guess, as like a lesson. So I had deployed my fire team up on that building that could see a Harris of Teuton. I should say he had a Harris of Teutons, core of Corsairs with the character Constantine.
Constantine. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I went to go and shoot at the with a multi-rifle burst 3 at these Teutonic Knights. Right, historically, Moira Sniper's done really good at killing these things, and his armor saves were off the charts. I don't think in my first turn I killed anything with that fire team. Ran up my Taskmaster, who did what he's kind of been doing during playtesting, which is took a boarding shotgun to the face and failed to do anything to a surprise attacking Trinitarian, and died in one turn.
Oh no!
I think because a mine went off in his face as well. So at my first turn, I'm like, okay, god damn it, I'm gonna have to do what I didn't want to do, which was Brando decided to pop up. So I over-infiltrated Brando on that bridge in between the buildings near his deployment zone. He popped out, killed a Crozier with Spitfire and MSV2, killed the Trinitarian that killed my Taskmaster. And I think maybe I killed another Crozier with my Harris, but that was it. I did not do much of my turn at all.
Right.
He went to push. He then started to push out, very much avoiding the Rover and Harris, and trying to sort of push his Teutonic Knights through the buildings in the middle, sort of going around to get to where the crane was. And his Teutonic Knights dodged like champs. I could not put them down in AOs at all. He was I was rolling decently, but he was rolling 17s, 15s for all the dodges. Could not touch them, and if I did, they passed their armor saves.
And that's what Teutons do, they dodge.
Mhm.
Yes. So I had planned to sort of I'm not going to say go easy. I was planning to not pull out all the Bakunin bullshit. I was hoping, I should say, to not pull out all the Bakunin bullshit
But
when playing Daniel. But my first turn had gone so bad that I pretty much went, Daniel, okay, I'm going to pull out a lot of bullshit in a second. So we're talking moderators, I keep saying moderators, Morlocks, spec throwing grenades, and then onto the Teutons, and then I had the Chimera run in and eat a Teuton, and then try to eat a second Teuton, roll a 4 and 2 3s, and the Teuton rolled like an 18.
Yep.
So killed the friggin' Chimera. But at the same time, my Moiras were able to sort of jump down from that building, take a look at his Croziers, and just annihilate pretty much his entire core fire team, leaving him kind of with just 2 Teutonic Knights. Come his second turn, he tries to push up. It just doesn't go his way.
Yeah.
I roll him to death. And then at that point, we sort of call it there because I've got pretty much my entire orders, and it was, I'll throw a smoke grenade with my Morlocks, Brando will grab the box and run back to my deployment zone, and that'll be it.
Okay.
What
was the final score?
The final score was, this is the problem I have with Capture and Protect. Is even though I had his box in my deployment zone in the ground, it was only, I think, 6-0.
Yeah, it's enough for a major for you. That's kind of what yeah.
Yeah, it is. I did however, because it completely blindsided me. I just got lucky that I rolled really well. Is he had a Trinitarian multi-sniper. Had no idea he had that.
He had
popped
a
out.
trend sniper. Cool.
Yep, on one of the crates, popped out, tried to take a shot at my Moiras, and I was like, And after the game, I was like, I've never seen. I
Mhm.
played a couple of things. I've never seen that. I actually really liked that because I had no fucking clue he was there.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I look forward to playing him a lot
It's-
more. He was a really good opponent. I just wish he didn't have to deal with a whole bunch of Infinity bullshits that I had to pull out to actually win that game.
Yeah, no, it's a good play. I did play Val when he was playing MO, and he ran a Trin sniper against me and revealed it in ARO against my Magri Bagard over 32 inches away, and I was like, oh fuck, how am I gonna deal with this thing? Over 32, and I was just lucky. I just had to just move it forward out of cover, survive that volley, and then took it out. But it was still like one of those things you're kind of counting your orders, going, do I have
Yeah.
enough orders to deal with this thing if I don't roll well enough? Yeah,
exactly.
It's a tricky one.
I was lucky to have the Mim 6 so that it was more the case of
Yeah.
he couldn't shoot well either.
That's true.
And I suppose he got, because of the way the turns were going, Wabera was being decided to be really accurate with her Vulcan shotgun over 8 inches and just kept plugging away at these Teutons.
Yeah, no, shotguns have surprisingly good range bands.
Yeah, well, because I think they used to, the old ones used to not be so good, but that's because they used to have the long range splash.
Had this, the different template, yeah. All right, okay, moving on. Let's get into Josh, your round 2.
Yeah, my round 2 was up against the South Australian player, Harrison, who was playing TAC. And it was on this Brutal Cities table.
Is this the Barbenheimer table, or is this the other one?
I think this is the Barbenheimer table, yes.
Yeah, because one side of it's kind of...
One side's nice, one side's, yeah.
Cool.
So, I won the role and chose deployment. And Harrison decided to go first. I just wanted to go second and capture and protect. That was basically my only reason. I took my Karakuri list. I made my Karakuri the Master Breacher. I took the side that is furthest from us. And his turn one rolled around. He made his
what was he running again?
Oh, so he was running TAC. He had a core link, like Vet Kazakh, a bunch of Kazakhs core link. He had a couple of midfield camo markers that never got revealed, a couple of Ermendinos, a Beast Hunter, and something that I don't really see very often, a Dynamo Harris. So he had a Dynamo Harris, the Dynamo AP Spitfire, a Paramedic, and a Forward Observer.
He's just looking to have fun with that Harris.
The AP Spitfire Dynamo was his Master Breacher, and he proceeded to tear up the entirety of my left flank. So the Barbie side of the table.
It's not a bad table for bikes, actually. There's enough space for me to squeeze through on all these builds too.
So he decimated me turn 1, probably took about 5 or 6 orders away from me. Just killed basically just killed everything. Killed everything. I managed to survive. The Karakuri died, which was heartbreaking. Most of my Link team died. Most of my Kusatsu Link team died. Mushashi died. It was just...
Was this all to the AP Spitfire?
Yeah, basically, yeah. That
Wow.
Dynamo AP Spitfire just came through and ruined my life. I managed to do a bit of force reconstitution by pulling Yurika around and bringing the Karakuri back up. The Domaru, the AP Spitfire ended up dying to... I managed to lay a chain rifle on him with Mushashi, which took it to Dogged. So he couldn't keep moving it around. Well, he could keep moving it around, but at least it would be dead at the end of his turn. And my Domaru lieutenant came through and just basically berserked to the other two dynamos. And then it was kind of just a bit back and forth. Him trying to really push hard to approach my button. Yuriko was just dodging like a madwoman and placing mines just to stop anything from happening. He managed to grab it, but then died to like a mine or an errant emitter shot or something from Yuriko. And turn 3, I had picked my Karakuri back up. I ran my Karakuri up to score the classified objective, which was sabotage, because Master Breacher gives it decharges. And then I tried to use Shinobu, which I didn't over infiltrate because he had the
antipodes with sensor.
Antipodes, yeah, with sensor. So he tried to censor me out, but couldn't find her. But if I had over infiltrated her, I think I just would have been censored out and just found and then stopped. I tried to get with some prone camo usage and some smoke. I tried to get Shinobu onto the box, but it just wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. But it ended up being neither of us had a box, so it was 1 point each to us. I scored he scored 1 classified, I scored 1 classified.
Oh, no.
But I used the Intelcom rule and I got an extra point because sabotage gives you the extra point on Intelcom.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, in that mission.
It's got the engineer symbol.
It's got the cog,
right?
the engineer symbol.
Is
So I
that
purposefully took sabotage because it was the engineer symbol, which would give you the extra point in capture and protect.
Does it give you an extra point, or does it deny your opponent a point?
No, it gives you an extra point.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
so I eked away a 3-2 win.
See, and that's why I hate Intelcom.
But that's why I hate capture and protect. Stop putting it in tournaments, Kevin, please.
Not my choice. Not my choice. Nick wanted that one. Not you, Nick. The other Nick. All right, cool.
Nick notoriously hates that one.
Yeah. Let's go to Nick. You're round 2.
Yeah. So round 2 was on James's table, my previous round's opponent.
Oh, I've got that one.
Okay. Excellent.
This is another nice table. It's another scratch built table. We've actually had couple of scratch built tables already showing up, and this is another one. A really good example of some really nice color in this table, and
Yes.
well thought out, and lots of scatter.
Yeah,
which I always
it's
love.
another table that's really coming along nicely. He started off with a lot of those. You see a lot of the gray boxes. And then every tournament he's gone to, he's tried to pick up little bits of train kits as prizes. And so those are slowly starting to filter in. It's really starting to get some nice variety and variation on the table.
Yeah, I really like those little buildings. They're a really nice size. You can put 2 of them together, create a nice L shape, some nice nooks, and they go well on top of the bigger buildings to create some height. So I think it's a really good design.
Yeah, it's a brilliant table. I've played on it a couple of times, and yeah, it's
And I
it's
just
done a
like
good job.
I just like the color. It reminds me of like a VR or like some sort of like old video game, style, like with just the colored buildings.
Well, I like it in that it is definitely gray. It's got the nice palette, but then each of the buildings you can very clearly see the outline of. You can see where each one is, and because they're different color, you can splash them around and go. It's easy to parse out where each thing is.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also very easy to do a battle port on it because you'd be like, I was on the green building, I was on the purple
Yes.
building.
Yeah, good point.
So, round 2, Capture Effect went up against John C's Toha, so the guy who went on to eventually win the tournament.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, so I'll start with, I don't remember much of his army. It's kind of a Toha blur. Nothing stood out as like
Lots of
unusual.
farts. Yeah.
Let me guess. What a bunch of the units ended with L.
Ooh, probably.
L or all?
Yeah.
So, I won the roll, picked to go second, and picked my side. John then kindly reminded me that that he was playing Toha, and also asked to clarify that I was in fact giving him that side of the board. To which I replied, "Yep," and he went, "Hmm."
Oh no!
I was, yeah.
When your opponent goes,
So I picked to play on the near side of the image, and gave him the far side. So
I think he's just trying to psych you out.
I picked I purposely gave him the side that I think he liked better because I knew how he would defend it.
Right.
So I gave him the side. If you look up in the center of the far side, there's those two white buildings.
Mm-hmm.
We played that those two edges are touching, so you can't see through them. And his beacon got deployed just in front of there in that crevice.
Okay. So he can use like fair aware behind the wall.
So facing you.
So facing me.
Yeah. You kind of had
He
a better
playing
side
Toha
to attack it from.
Yeah, so it's an easier to attack it. It's more difficult to defend. He playing Toha, I know he's going to toss a bunch of Fairware behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he even made the offhand comment, not directly to me, of, okay, Ramah, so not much structure. I was playing 5 models with structure. Additionally, on my side, if you see the white building kind of in the center on that side, the beacon on that side was deployed just behind that building, so facing my DZ as well.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't defend a beacon on the far side, and I knew I could defend it on this side.
Yeah, it sounds like with your matchup against Toha, really that was the best of two, the best choice for you, even though you gave him a more defensible position.
I gave him the more defensible position because I knew I could predict how he would act.
Yeah, look, that little square building at the end there is perfect for a Nicole. So
yes,
that's basically probably what he put there.
So my goal. Oh, there was that, and then the delegate.
Oh yeah,
both of them back there. Because my goal, it's not that tough to block line of sight with smoke on this table, because there's a lot of good choke points you can toss the smoke down. So my goal was to get one of my Fanus up there to near the beacon. He can't Pharaoh-wear it because it's structure. And then just spotlight and guided missile all of the models he has clumped back there to try to Pharaoh-wear the beacon and defend it.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought, okay, I see it. It's coming together. So we both went into this with good plans. His plan started working well first, and I never quite caught up.
Oh, because he went first, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah. So when he went to deploy his reserve model, basically went, what the heck? Let's go for it. And then Impersonator goes right next to my objective, to my beacon. Okay, so I counter deploy the Nahab Killer Hacker next to it, and the Sundeck Bud is already there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, there's a chance, but between a Sundeck Bud, Neurocynetics, close range, and a Nahab Killer Hacker, I should be able to stop an Impersonator from grabbing the marker and taking off.
Yeah. He obviously deployed it as a marker state, not with a mate or a bomb. Oh yeah.
Correct. So yeah, he deployed it as it turned out to be a Keaton. Yeah.
Yep.
You have a grief operator?
No, not a grief, because the Keaton he liked as the balance. It wasn't paying for all the extra Jan Star stuff, but it still had the second wound.
Right.
So on his turn 1, he picks up the objective and goes dodge, and is gone.
How did he pick up the objective? And I don't think you can pick up the objective and dodge.
No, but he took a wound.
What, against a viral rifle and the Nahab?
They're BTS 6.
Yeah.
But like burst 4 viral rifle and a burst
Oh
and a
no,
nanopulsar?
he was too close, so I chain rifled him.
I see.
But he made the saves, and again, it went
Yeah.
well for him. He
That's-
took the gamble, and it paid off.
That's still lucky. Like burst 2 chain rifle and
Yeah.
then whatever the Nahab's throwing at him. Like yeah.
The Nahab, I think SMG'd him because the other weapon is a nanopulsar, which again BTS 6.
Sure.
So that's gone. It is targeted, but it is gone. So yeah, I never caught up, but I did make sure that even though he had my beacon in his deployment zone on top of 1, he did not score any points off that beacon until turn 3. Because start of my first turn, missile on the Kiatan, hits it, downs it, done. He's no longer holding a beacon. End of turn 1, no beacon score. Turn 2, another model picks it up, goes into a position that looks fairly safe. Nahab Specialist comes on, goes move, move, move. I take a wound, move. I kill it with a shotgun. And then I die. Good. Turn 2, no scoring. So in the end, it ended up being a 7-1 victory to him, with getting the extra point for the intel comm on his side,
right.
which got him up to 7. So, very fun game. I figured, so I guess he was the only person I did give a 5 to on sportsmanship, because my first thought after finishing that game was, I did check the clock and see if we have time to re-rack. I'd love to play this again.
Oh, that's good.
So I figured with that warranted a 5 on sportsmanship. So
yeah, no, I like John a lot. He's a really sweet guy, and a really good player as well.
Yes,
and he's pretty I find he's pretty well, not lax, but he's pretty relaxed when you're playing with him.
Yes,
he's not super like there's no problem with takes backs. He's just like yeah, whatever. And sometimes even when he makes a mistake, it's just like I'll just roll with it. So it's it's good.
Yeah, so yeah, really good player.
Cool.
Both as a social player and as a rules player. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's round 2. Right. Final round for day 1. Let's go back to Jacob, and it is Frontline. Is that right?
Yeah, Frontline.
Yeah.
Was that on my round 2 table, Jacob?
No, I don't think we've seen this table yet.
Okay, I'll have a look for it. You talk about your game and I'll have a look for it.
Yeah, so my game was versus Dante playing Corregidor. I took my
Dante, another local.
Actually, I didn't take my. I was just thinking. I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't take my Frontline list for this particular one.
Unless you said this is for Frontline. So the Frontline was that your core or your 2 Harrises?
Yeah, that was my core.
Core, right? Okay.
Oh no, sorry, I take it back. No, that was my Frontline list. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I took my Frontline list with the 2 Harrises to try and push that. Boom, you got it. That's the one. So I ended up having second turn and deploying on that like on the far side.
So did you chose sites?
I'm not quite sure who won the roll off in this particular one. I think I won the roll off, chose sides, and chose to deploy second. Yeah.
Well, no, you don't choose to deploy second. You just choose sites, and that
you can choose to deploy second. You do choose to deploy second.
Yeah, you choose where to deploy in order of deployment.
Yeah, but you don't ever say that you deploy. You just say I'm choosing sides, and you say I'm choosing sides, and you're deploying first. Usually is what I say. I don't, yeah.
All right.
You don't.
It is an option, but there's. I don't think there's any reason you would ever take the other option.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, I was on this particular table. I remember I drew okay classifieds. I think they were both about the HVT. I think it was.
Because there's 4
Yeah,
of
I
them.
think it was the one to censor the HVT and the one to get like a character or like a veteran. No, sorry, medium infantry, to do a whip check within 8 inches of it.
Okay, there's
Follow up.
4. There's 4 classifieds. Though.
Follow up. Oh, there are 4. You're right.
I mean, it doesn't really matter about the other 2, but you know.
Yeah, I can't remember them now. I think I only got 2 done anyway. Anyway, so I deployed on the far side, and I deployed pretty much as far back as possible because I wanted Dante to come towards me.
And he's playing Corregidor with that typical picture list that he's got. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have a bunch of pictures coming at me. I'm going to have a bunch of Morans in my face. I'm going to try to deploy as far back as possible so that if he wants, and that's why I also took the side with the wall to try and limit the amount of places that he could see to put pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I pulled back as far as I did. Probably, in all honesty, it wasn't as far as I would have back as I would have liked. But I only had so many deployment spots in the back of my line. He was playing a list that had, again, a bunch of hackers. Had Jazz, had the Drew's hacker, Valera.
Yeah.
I don't think any other hackers than
the
that,
Voss-
but it also sorry.
Sorry, did he? Because we obviously did his list on a BCB Pimp My List. So was it the Gator list or was it the
It was the Gator list. It was the Gator. It was the Gator list.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So so deployed as far back as I possibly could. He sort of deployed, with his support pieces hidden. His Gator relatively far forward because he was going to come out swinging with that. He had 2 Morans. It's sort of a standard sort of Corregidor hacking tag list. Again, first thing he does is he runs up the Moran, gets close enough that he can killer hack or just killer hack my Custodia.
Oh no, not again.
Yeah, fucking again. Trust me, it gets worse for the Custodia on my turn. But I think other than that, he doesn't really manage to achieve a lot, mainly because of my mimetism -6. So he takes a couple of shots at my Moira sniper that I think he could see when he was moving his Gator around, but he just couldn't land hits. I was landing hits on his Gator. So it was like 5 shots on 8s versus 2 on 12s, things like that. It just wasn't great range bands because that sort of middle is really open. He wasn't getting a lot of cover moving forwards.
Oh yeah.
I did get kind of lucky. There was some good dodging by my Moiras and by Kusanagi for once. But yeah, so not a huge amount done in his turn. I think he just managed to maybe hurt some of my hackers.
Something I just want to briefly just pick up on this list with a Gator. I didn't measure it out, but I did do it in the Gumby game I played. Is that building that's closest, the 2-story Brutal Cities building? You can jump from that orange building to the black building. And I'm wondering if you could probably jump a Gator from the top of that building to the middle building, and then you're on the middle of the table on that big black building looking down at a bunch of stuff. I'd be keen to see.
Well,
I'm
glad Dante didn't see that. That would have been horrendous.
Because I was able to do it with the Beast Hunter in my turn, and it was quite effective. In my
although admittedly that may have been to his detriment, because in my turn I managed to sort of, in that far building, that far 2-story orange building, skinny orange building, there was some really good line of sights for my Moira sniper.
Right.
So I was able to kill the Moran that he had run up to that sort of triangular building next to the APC. I was able to kill a evader that he had near that sort of that like cream building near his deployment, as well as I think I was able to put a wound on the gator. With the last few orders left, I decided, okay, we'll see if we can get my Custodia up, because I put her on the edge so that when she went down, I could fire some medkits at her. Fucking shot 2 medkits at her from one bearer and rolled like a 20 and a 19. Fucking exploded her. So she has a good track record. My Morris have a good track record of just not being able to pass medkits.
Because what's their fizz? 12?
12, so they should be okay
It's
at
not
doing
too bad.
it with
On
2 dice.
If you hit with both, you got a reasonable chance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that it was happening constantly. So I was pretty happy though with that turn, mainly because he had first turn and I'd pretty much pushed him out of any sort of attacking position. Second turn, he pushed forward again to try and take out my Moira sniper, but he had to spend a lot of...
bit briefer though, Jacob, just rather than turn by turn. Just because I'm aware of the time. That's all.
Yeah, so he pushed up with this Harris, had to spend a lot of orders to sort of get around the Moira sniper. Managed to take it out in the end, but it took up most of his orders, and he got Wolfgang zapped.
Oh, yeah, because I do forget they have zappers. That is a really handy piece of kit.
Started to push up. I knew I wasn't going to get his side of the table, so I was concentrating on just getting classifieds done and getting sort of securing that middle of the table. So I pushed up to the very far sort of diagonal wall that you can see, made sure I had my own zone. Probably at the end of my turn, I just had to get rid of that fire team he pushed up. The bloody Orphan came absolutely clutch, ran up with her SMG and just shot Valera and the Jaguar that she was with. The Initiated finally did something and shot a Moran in the back, which was really good because she had one order to do it and she did it. But probably the best thing that he did that I got very lucky with, which was he shot a mine to look at Wabera and Kusanagi, who were both on no wound in cap. And so he ran up his Moran and unfortunately made the mistake of like using the slug against against Wabera. And if I had dodged with Wabera, it would have set off the mine to hit Kusanagi, and she wouldn't have gotten an ARO. So I literally put my hands up and said, she's going to just do nothing. I'm going to hope that you miss with the one shot that you've got. Or that I'll pass my armor saves, because it's just a light shotgun, I think it was. Might have been a boarding shotgun.
Boarding shotgun on a Moran. Yeah, it's a boarding shotgun.
Yeah, boarding shotgun. I'm just going to hope that you miss or she passes her armor saves. So and it paid off.
They were in a fire team. Now you could see Wabera, but not Kusanagi.
I had to break the fire team. Oh no, that's right.
Sorry. He could see Wabera, but not Kusanagi.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then, as he moved into line of fire, obviously that would trigger an arrow from both of them. But you chose to break the fire team.
No. So what it was is I put Kusanagi in suppressor fire to stop the gator from coming around.
Oh, so you were.
Because there's no way the gator would have been able, like -6 plus the -3. There's no way the gator would have, and he'd already taken like a wound or 2 on the gator. So what he did is he put a mine that could see Wabera, but could also put the template onto Kusanagi.
Oh.
And so if Wabera dodged, the mine would have gone off, and he would have hit Kusanagi with no way for her to react.
Right. Gotcha.
And because of that, I've obviously broken the fire team. And so I just went, I'm just going to go, Wabera's going to do nothing. She's got armor 3. You're slugging her, so she's armor 6 in cover, right? You get no bonuses for shooting at her. I think the first shot was outside of 8.
Oh, okay.
So I was like super confident that he wasn't going to be able to do it. And he either missed or she passed every single armor save. And so that my turn was just cleaning up what he had in the center, and that was it.
What was the score?
You know what? I think it was like 6-4. Sorry, it's like 7-4 or 7-5, something like that.
Okay, yeah, fairly close though. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
'cause-
whose table was
Yeah.
this? Was this
This is Brian. This is Ryan's second table.
Ryan's
this
other?
this is Brian. This is Ryan Jago's table.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a pretty good table. It can be a little bit open.
there were some.
However,
yeah.
However, those walls are a good size because tags like it does really block line of sight for tags.
Yeah, those walls are a nice way to break it up. I played on this table as well. I liked it. There were some concerns that the two orange buildings were quite dominating. They had some really good sight lines and they could see each other, which I don't know if that's actually that big a deal. But I did quite enjoy this table. So yeah, both of Ryan's tables were actually pretty good from all reports, which is cool.
Yeah, they were great.
All right, moving on. Josh, what was your round 3?
My round 3 was Frontline against our longtime friend of the show, Frank, on playing MO on Tristan's table. Frank was running his Deferson list that we attempted to pimp, but he didn't change because it didn't need to be changed.
We did a shit job.
We attempted to gimp. We attempted to gimp, but didn't need to be gimped. I won the role, decided to go first, because I thought that I could do a bit of work crippling Frank's offense if I if I came in with Shinobu and did some carving up. I took this. He took the side furthest from our point of view, and I managed to deploy Shinobu right on the edge of his DZ, where she would not have any lines going in. Like not have any real arrows going into the midfield. On the sort of right hand flank that we can see on our right hand flank, the turn 1 was sort of characterized by some very shocking rolls from me. I walked around a corner, with Shinobu, tried to plug a paramedic in the back of the head with a combi rifle, and I whiffed everything. Then I kept walking Shinobu, and threw a smoke grenade down on that paramedic, and then walked into CC and did what Shinobu did best with that paramedic, against that paramedic. And then I was like, you know what? This list, I really need to kill Deferson. So I walked into CC with Deferson. I rolled a 2 and a 3, and he rolled a 20. So Shinobu went dead, and I was like, oh well, that's unfortunate. There's not much I can do now. So I moved the Dioka around to take a couple of pot shots at some things, and set it up as a bit of an ARO piece with its Panzerfausts, and then handed it over to Frank, and his turn 1 was characterized by some very unfortunate dice rolls on his part. He walked Deferson up and around to come and attack my Kisotsu fire team, and as it crested this ladder on top of a building, my Ryukin heavy rocket launcher revealed and killed Deferson all the way dead, burnt him to the ground. That's bye Deferson. Thanks, Ryukin. He then attempted to use his Black Friar to kill the Ryukin, and the Ryukin killed the Black Friar in response. I think I was rolling on like 12s, and he was rolling on like 13. Like it was like 1 on 12, and he was like 3 on 13s, and I just managed to beat the dice roll. So very unfortunate dice rolls on both of our parts. He then used his Knight of Holy Chunk to come up and royally screw my day up. And I just had to get along with trying to score some classifiers and push some things into the midfield. And basically the only real standout thing from there is me spending 5 orders in my last turn to kill the Knight of Holy Sepulchre with Yuriko and her combi rifle.
Oh wow.
So he was out of cover, and I just spent orders. He was outside of 8 inches, so it was bad time for him using his pistol or his HMG. I have mimetism. I have cover. He didn't have cover. I was 3 dice 15s. Let's try. And it took me a few orders, but I got him all the way to dead with a combi rifle. And I think that really was the point of the game that cemented it for me. I managed to score the middle zone and my zone. He scored his zone. We scored a couple of classified each, and it was around about a 7-5 victory to me.
Okay, another close game. Yeah, Frank's another fun guy to play. I do wonder if he's like kind of hanging himself with MO though, so I don't know if he's like looking forward to changing.
I think he said he was trying TAC at one point, but then it didn't really work out for him, so he might be jumping onto something new.
They're even harder, I think. Yeah. All right, cool. Good stuff. And right, round 3, end of day 1. Nick, take it away.
Hey, so Frontline played against Josh P's TAC. So second
table?
TAC for me now. Yes, on this table. I don't remember who won the roll. In my notes, I did not write it down. It was kind of end of day, and I was a bit tired.
Oh yeah.
So I ended up going second on the near side of that table, and he deployed on the first on the far side.
I think this is this Peter, one of Peter's tables, one of Peter Henry's tables.
Yeah, it's him or Luke. Yeah, one of the Henry's tables.
One of the Henry's tables. This is like kind of what Knights of Dice stuff. Lots of big, footprint buildings, and then some scatter.
It's a staple of a lot of.
Yes, it does.
It was featured, in one of Rob Cantrell's CanCon videos as well. So yeah, it's been pretty heavily featured in a lot of Australian tournaments. Yeah,
for sure. Anyway,
so his TAC list was basically a front of it core, which I thought was a little unusual, that had, I believe, a missile launcher, sniper rifle, and Bakunin in it. He had a dog warrior, he had 1 or 2 other things, and then a more camo markers that I wanted to count. So in some ways typical TAC, in other ways front of it core was interesting.
Was that a pure front fit core or no? Not with Bakunin.
I believe it was not because of Bakunin.
Yeah.
But okay. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, that sounds about
right. So basically fairly defensive on both sides. I ended up playing my list B, so the more defensive list, because after I drew my classifieds, I looked at them and went, I can't accomplish this many hacker objectives with my first list, so I will play the other one. Very defensive game. We both kept taking pot shots at the middle field skirmishers. I think my Zayden missile launcher went down twice and got back and was still up at the end of the game. He had one of his skirmishers get hit that was outside of the building where the front of it core was. So the front of it paramedic got up and shot the darts out of the window and managed to res the skirmisher. In the end, we both scored all 4 of our classifieds. We both scored the near zone to ourselves, and he managed to get the middle zone for a 7-5 in his favor. Right. So it was a loss, but I still managed to get offensive and defensive.
Yeah, you got offensive and defensive. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And
so
this was a Sunduck butt list you took?
Yeah.
Did it do much?
So Sunduck butt, it did enough, but it really wasn't the greatest list for that. However, the classifieds forced me into that list.
And then did the sorry if I missed it before, but did the front of it core cause you much grief?
A little.
On this
Actually,
table, there's not many places
the
you
only
can
major
put it.
match highlight I have for this one. So on his turn 3, so top of turn 3, he moves his front of it core out. It deployed in the tall building on the right hand side, far side.
Mm-hmm.
So starts moving them out, starts moving it up because he wants to get them into the zones. I don't really have much left on that side of the board for arrows. Gets them around that pavilion-y circle door building, coming around on the left side of it, and Batard is down near the subway entrance there, and sees them and goes, "I dodge." Like, okay. So Batard dodges 4 inches toward them. And he moves them up again and shoots Batard, and Batard dodges 4 inches toward them.
No.
And he moves them up again and shoots Batard, and I think he tanks. He goes dogged, which was nice because he was shooting me with a rocket launcher. And he moves them up again, and look at the table, like activated with the missile with the rocket launcher. I know he's going to nail Batard again. Oh hey, look who's within 8 inches of Batard. Batard throws a trench hammer, nails Verodin, and drops him straight to dead.
Oh man, Batard's trench
Oh
hammer
my
has
Batard
done
got to liberate the antipode.
has so much work. It's done so much work for me, that trench hammer on Batard in the past.
Yeah.
People are like, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna dodge, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna yeet a trench hammer at you. Fuck yeah."
I remember having both their Batard and the camo antipode AROing, I think, Makamoro, and just throwing trench hammers at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nasty.
So that was a memorable way to kind of wrap up the game.
Cool.
Yep. So that was.
I think from memory, Josh came 4th. Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he came 4th. So yeah, lost to John, who came in 1st, and then had a loss with offense and defensive bonuses against Josh, who came in 4th.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, and Josh did really well because I think I played him for the first time Nova Core in 20 or whatever last year or something like that. And yeah, he only ever seems to come down for tournaments. I don't know if he gets any games in the meantime, but he was running TAC as well, which was really cool to see. So yeah, big ups to Josh, the other Josh, and to you, Josh, too. All Joshes.
Thank you.
Big ups to all Joshes. Anyway, right. Okay, so that's the end of day 1. Well, I guess we'll briefly just talk about the evening, which is we went to the pub. Nick organised a pub down the road for all of us to sit, and we had a really nice meal and lots of drinks, and more drinks because we've been drinking during the day at the venue, which was very nice. And it was a good time. All right.
It was, yeah. I have nothing to say, but the pub I've eaten at before, and it was very lovely.
Yeah.
It normally is.
It was good.
They were very keen to keep our 30 packs table
I can imagine.
there,
Yeah.
so they offered us some free drinks at the end, and we started sort of filtering out. We're like, oh, we'll take some shots.
Jordan's saying it. They try to keep you there until 3 a.m.
Yeah, but it was like some of the worst shots ever. They were
horrible.
So bad. They're like, "Oh, we can give you guys free drinks." And we're like, "All right, sure, why not?" And they came out with these like fucking teapots. They're like, pre-mixed garbage vodka or whatever the hell it was, in some sort of sweet mix. And we're like pouring these teapots into shot glasses. Like, what are we, 12? What's going on here? And we left. We're like, thanks for the free drinks, but we're leaving. And we went to a dive bar, a dive Irish bar, where there was people playing like instruments badly. And then eventually we I think James, who's over from WA, at some point, like lovely guy, like this big guy, he turned around to me at one point in the night. It must have been about like nearly midnight, and goes, "Kev, I haven't had dinner yet." And I'm like, "Jesus Christ, you've been drinking all day." And he's like, "Yeah, can we go get some food?" We're like, "All right." So we headed off to Macca's.
Did he not get dinner at the pub?
No, because he was late because he had to go check into his hotel. And then I think he had to go and he had to go see his friends. And then he got, by the time he got back to the pub, it was dinner, like services sort of finished. But he
Ah,
didn't
right,
tell anybody until like midnight and was like, I'm a bit hungry. And I'm like, all right, let's take you to Macca's. Anyway, yeah. So good times. Yes, and and I had to go sleep on a couch in one of your rooms because everyone else went to bed. Right. Anyway, day 2, round 4 is supplies. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
So Nick has foolishly revealed that I can blame him for my 4th round loss against Josh because you could have beaten him and I wouldn't have had to play him. So I played Josh's tack, same sort of front of ink link on this table. The way right, so the way this table was laid out, I'm just trying to figure out where I was. Yeah.
This table was built by a tack player for tack players, so
Yeah. So I was on the far side of this particular picture. I took my more defensive team, so I had the Moiras in the Pebble building with the sniper and the HMG in like active ARO, trying to sort of keep down the dog warriors and any sort of smoke, as well as and then had the Taskmaster and the Morlocks on the other side. He had his Frontovix sort of looking at the middle. And sort of like if you take a look at the near side, that rock, they were sort of around there and around that yellow edged building, as well as he had a smattering of camo muckers all along the middle, a couple of infiltrated camo muckers, which are obviously scouts, and some bikes and what it's like Domio, paramedic, and what have you. Ready to try and grab the objective. Now, the way the objectives were laid on this table was like one was on top of a building that I could see pretty well. One was in the sort of middle of the map, which again I could also see, and one was in like this nook that he had to come around to get away from me. But this is probably the only, I suppose, this is the disadvantage of not taking Riot Girls, is that I knew that if he just wanted to throw smoke, there was nothing I could really do to stop him.
Yeah. Right.
So lesson from this is to be honest, I should probably take 2 lists, one with Riot Girls for the MSV and one without, just in case someone wants to have a whole bunch of smoke. And I overly infiltrated Brando. If you take a look at the very far bit of that picture near those stairs behind that box, I put Brando right behind there. The idea in this was that he would ultimately be able to grab the boxes. There wasn't much I could do to stop him. And the hope was that I could push in and turn 2 and grab the boxes off of him. First turn, he rocks up, grabs 2 of the crates, pulls them back pretty far into his towards his DZ. So he did really well there with smoke and Frontovix and all that. Sorry, not Frontovix, Strelix and all that sort of thing. Getting them back.
Use Strelix, not Dynamos, to do that?
Well, he tried to use his Dynamo, but unfortunately his Dynamo got flashed in like the first order. So the Dynamo just like couldn't do anything the entire turn. So I break out with my Taskmaster, shoot his Dynamo, try to get rid of some of the camo tokens that are really close to me. So it happened to be, I think, a Strelic with a T2 rifle and an AP sniper sniper rifle scout. Managed to take those out with my rocket launcher.
An AP
so I started to push things.
Scout was close to you. Okay.
Well, I think the idea of what he wanted was he wanted the scout to look across the table.
Yeah.
And to look at my... Oh, sorry, no, you know what? I didn't take that out. I think he went to shoot my... He revealed it at some point when I went to move my Moiras.
Right, okay.
But my Moira sniper was just like, no, I'm not having any of that, and shot it. So his second turn, because I was taking I was taking second turn, but in his second round he went to really he went to really secure his position, and I knew that if I pushed near around the near side of the table there with my link team, I would very easily be able to get into his DZ and just have like a Moira HMG able to wipe out his entire front of Ink link. The only thing that was stopping me was a single front of Ink sniper. Now, initially I started shooting at it with my sniper, but that was mainly because she was the first to get into range. Plenty of successes, passes all of his armor saves. I'm like, okay, I need more dice. I get the Moira HMG onto him. Again, plenty of successes, right? He passes just a ungodly amount of armor saves. We're talking, I had to get rid of this piece. I had to get pushed through. This was compounded by the fact that I had at one point was shooting another one of his guys with a T2 rifle with my Taskmaster, 3 rocket launchers on 10 versus 2 things on 9. And again, I just could not get. Sorry? Bad range. Bad range in cover.
What, with a sniper rifle?
No. So this was another one with the rifle, with the T2 rifle.
Oh,
T2 rifle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I got on top of the 2-story yellow building in the middle there.
Mm-hmm.
And went to shoot down to that small yellow building. Just could not get through his armor saves, and I could not get through this sniper's armor save.
Yeah, because I mean, it's because you're still like you're 5 dice on 12s, and he's what, 2 dice on 9s or something.
12s, because the sniper's got MSV1.
But it's still it's not pure core, right? So it'll be BS13 minus.
Yeah, it's a pure. He had it as a pure.
Oh, it was a pure core.
We're both pure cores, so that's why I needed the 5 dice.
Yeah,
and I succeeded at like a ton of the roll-offs. Like he was taking 2 or 3 armor saves each time I succeeded. Just could not punch through his armor. It was an amazing amount of armor save. So, like after that, like sort of bad luck with the dice. That was it. He pushed a Strelok into that fire team. I couldn't find a good time to discover it, right, and to fire back. So he just got into a good position, happened to shoot my lieutenant, and then the one thing I could have done in my turn was grabbed a supply box with my my Stempers on. I rocked up, used its order, and failed the whip roll.
Yeah.
So it was a 8-0 loss.
Oh wow. Yeah, it went down hard.
Yeah,
there.
No, sorry, I take it back. I did get 1 point because I secured this HVT.
Okay. Yeah, I do wonder if your mobile list would have been a better choice for supplies, given that you could 2 mobile teams. But I guess.
Looking at the table and the fact that I couldn't defend against Tax Smoke anyway, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, cool. Well, moving on to Josh, and what was your round 4 like? Is this another draw?
You've guessed it.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I was up against Lewis on Lil's table, which we've already sort of discussed. Its pros and cons. Lewis was playing White Banner, had his usual sort of camo suit, lots of Guilangs, Beast Hunter probably. He had a Yi Mao, which was fun. A Yi Mao sniper. Oh, not sniper. Spitfire. Yeah, to come around and kill my Mimetis in pieces and shoot me through smoke. And then
one, right?
MSV1, yeah. And Rushi and Jinquo with 2 monks.
Cool.
And his favorite piece, which is the Tiger Soldier. I went first. I believe I won the roll and Snap picked first. I deployed on the side that is closest to us, and he deployed on the far side. I managed to very luckily roll up some 8-4 movement on my sec det, and so turn one, I just went and grabbed a supply box, walked my sec det, ran my sec det up to that. The middle supply box was on top of the walkway, dead in the middle there. We couldn't be seen by anything. And I grabbed it and ran away and parked it in amongst these bottle caps prone with a supply box that you can see like closest to us. It's like, oh, that's mine. That's my first supply box. Secured. It's feeling pretty good. My Kasatsu fire team was deployed on that hexagonal building with the square topper that you can see towards the octagonal building, sorry. On the left hand side there, and so I just sort of marched them across, discovering camo markers and shooting them with the HMG, which worked out pretty well. So killed a Guilang, killed a Longya, and then sort of parked the missile launcher and the HMG in a way that it would be annoying to remove. Then it came on to his turn. He advanced with the Yimao just to basically harass Yojimbo a bit. Yojimbo managed to survive on no win in cap. Then Jinquo walked up and did Jinquo things. Smoked out the supply box on the right hand side. Grabbed that, ran away, and that's all she wrote about Jinquo. Ran away from me, and I couldn't do anything about it. Turn 2, I faffed around with Shinobu a bit. I think it was we just spent too long doing it because I wanted to try and score Predator, because I had Predator as a classified, and I enjoy scoring Predator. So I faffed around with Shinobu, ran Musashi up into his DZ. Shinobu was in his DZ, Musashi's in his DZ. Can be quite a difficult thing to sort of get past. He was doing some really nice dodging with a Guilang, which is something that can just, an errant shot can just sort of take out Shinobu. So I was just trying to avoid that. And behind those buildings in the DZ there's just not a lot of places for Shinobu to hide. So it was a lot of orders spent on basically accomplishing very little. Similarly, his turn 2 accomplished very little. He sort of tried to remove Shinobu by dropping a Tiger Soldier round, which promptly got flashed by Musashi.
Goddamn Musashi, he's doing things. Can you believe it?
He got flashed by Musashi, and then he tried to use a Rushi to get rid of Shinobu and didn't quite work. I managed to dodge her away. Doesn't matter. We're getting to turn 3 now. I need to get a box to actually win this game. I walk my Karakuri Harris up to try and get the other box, and I promptly forget that a Karakuri kind of doesn't care about a Longya's weaponry, and didn't grab the box with the Karakuri and tried to fight a Longya and tried to steal his box away from Jinquo, which kind of sort of amounted to nothing. I didn't grab a box. I didn't kill Jinquo with either the Karakuri or the Aragoto killer hacker, and then he couldn't do anything to my position. So ended up we both had supply boxes. Neither of us scored anything. So I think it was a 2 overall.
Oh no! So if you could you have gone after the one remaining supply box with the Karakuri, or was it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I was basically on it. He had a Longya watching it.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of was like, I kind of forgot
care.
that a Karakuri doesn't care about a Longya because I'm only taking 1 damage. Against anything, because he's got Panzerfaust and Flammen Spears, but a Karakuri's total immune, so I don't care.
Yeah. You at worst take what?
Oh, a structure.
At worst, he could do
2 because of crits.
If he did, he could
Because of
crits. Yeah, and
or if you just like repeatedly fail your whip check to pull it out of the box, then he could potentially kill you, but you'd have to be unlucky.
Have to be pretty unlucky to do that. Unfortunately, Yojimbo was on the other side, so I couldn't like long bomber like a
smoke.
a smoke grenade down or anything like that. So it was just in a really unfortunate position. And so yeah, it was ended up being, I think it was a 2-all draw. It might have been a 3-all. I think it was 2-all.
Okay. All right.
Which was setting.
It was a 2-all.
Yeah.
2-all.
So if I'd scored a classified, but we were securing each other's HVTs, so that couldn't be scored. We were yeah, he didn't score a classified. I didn't score a classified. It was just we each had a box.
So is that your
I like
second
the
or
I
third
like
draw?
the fact that
Yeah, I played myself into a draw. Unfortunately, like Lewis played really well. He held me to it really hard. He set up this like devastatingly difficult deployment to try and get through. Definitely not taking away from Lewis's like gameplay at all. But had I had just remembered that a Karakuri had total immunity, I just pushed that button, I probably would have been okay.
I like the fact that when in any mission where you could very easily draw, you decided to draw. Well, not decided, you did draw.
Yeah, I decided to draw every single one.
Supplies, capture and protect.
Yes. Well, that's it. That's what we want.
All right. It's round 4. Nick.
Okay.
On Aaron's table that we've seen.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
we played
got
on a
to play
very
on the
small
table
pool of
that I had
tables.
made comments about. Oh, I kind of like this table.
Yeah.
Well, this is just because we saw it for best table, so
Yeah.
This is the first time we haven't had a repeated one. So
That's right. That's right.
Yep. So played against Dylan's US Ariada. Let's see. I won the roll, chose to go first, so I ended up on the near side and he ended up on the far side. Had a little bit of an idea of what one of his lists were because I had talked to him earlier about the fact that he had 3 blackjacks sitting around. And actually I was curious to play against it, and he apparently was very interested in dropping that list as many times as possible, so that's what it ended up being. I played my first list, so the one with Harris. And yep, he did in fact drop his Blackjack Harris. So it was 2 T2 snipers and 1 AP HMG in a pure Blackjack Harris. So he ended up, see the little like plus sign building. I think one of his blackjacks was up there, and then 2 were on the ground, kind of hiding behind cars in the middle. He also had a grunt core with the Unknown Ranger, so not pure. Had I think a sniper rifle in there as well.
The Unknown Ranger counts as a grunt.
Oh, it does. Okay, so it was pure. Yeah, sniper rifle, and then a bunch of just kind of miscellaneous grunts. I had my.
Did he not have any bikes? Did he not have any of the bikes?
He had one bike. And I think it was the paramedic. Yeah, I think he had the 112.
Aww. Mavericks are so much fun.
And then I think he had a random infiltrating grunt with flamethrower, and I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2 pieces. See the purple building. I had my core up there, not in the purple part, but the actual rooftop area, or I don't know, mezzanine area. And then my Harris was over on the far side of the table. And like the other game that I used the Alpha Sit in, I remembered my Mind Layer ability sometime during turn 2. However, in neither of them would it really have made a difference. So started off, smoked up a bit, and snuck a.
Yeah, smoke up a bit.
Smoke up a bit.
Smoked up a bit. Snuck one of my Fanus up so that it had 2 of the blackjacks in its zone of control. Tried hacking them, and they were really good about pushing a big reset button on their control panel. So that didn't work, but it did give him a problem because 2 of his blackjack threes were inside of a hacking area. So he had to undo that, which burnt up a bunch of orders at the start of his turn. In the end, I ended up whittling down the blackjacks just by pure volume of fire from the HMG. Because I'm hitting on 18s with 5 dice, he's shooting back on 2 dice, and then 1 die on 13. And he may be passing on an 8, but when you're rolling 4 to 5 saves at a time, passing on an 8 is not that good.
Tell that to a freaking Frontovic sniper.
So basically, the supply box on the near side was favorable to me, the far side was favorable to him, and the middle was slightly favorable to me. That one actually went back and forth a bit. In the end, that archway ended up being his downfall because he had the 112 shoot smoke, which eats up more orders because the 112 isn't that great at shooting smoke.
That's BS11.
And he got the smoke down, and it just wasn't quite in the right place. And that let me draw a line through with something that ended up dropping it. So in the end, I ended up with all 3 of the supply boxes for a 9-0 win.
Wow.
This is the one where I mentioned turn 3, the Nahab specialist comes in. Basically, I was waiting for his core team to get down to 3 members. So they didn't have 6th Sense, and then brought him in and just wiped the rest. There was a fun little protracted gunfight between Yara and the Unknown Ranger that went back and forth for a while. Both of them in cover and just kind of peeking out just enough to take a few shots. But I think that eventually broke because he had to move the Unknown Ranger up, and he got Yara to dodge into cover. So, fun game. Honestly, the 3 blackjacks did far better than I thought they would. I thought it would be a little overcommitted, but the list balances pretty well around them, and I can definitely see against an army that doesn't have a full 5-core pure linked marksmanship HMG, they would be a lot bigger problem.
Yeah, I think even just being ballsy, just having 2 T2 snipers just up on arrow, BS13 armor 5, like pretty good.
I mean,
shooting 2 shots each in arrow.
I mentioned before, it's always the consequence of failing against them. Like damage 15 T2, you fail against them, and then you're low armor or something. Almost anything in the game just gone. And
they're also they're sub 40 points as well. They're not expensive.
You can run a Harris of them and still have plenty left. Like he still had plenty left for the full grunt,
Unknown Ranger,
and a few miscellaneous pieces to go in the front.
Also, I want to mention as well, I like your use of aggressive Fanus. I have never really used them that way unless I'm absolutely desperate, but I like how that's kind of it's almost like your A plan is to be push a Fanus up, hack something, or do whatever, guided it, or whatever. Whereas I'm what do I have? I've got 2 orders with a Fanus in its own combat group, I'll move it up. But I like how you're actively thinking about using them. Cool.
Well, part of it is I've got enough smoke to get it up there, and they're 6/6 move.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take that much to get them halfway across the board.
Yeah, and you've got hackers to complement it, so it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's round 4. On to the final round. So just to recap quickly, Jacob, you're on, what's your win-loss draw at the moment?
2 and 2. 2 wins, 2 losses.
All right, Josh?
I'm on 2 wins and 2 draws.
Okay. And Nick?
And I'm on 2 wins, 2 losses, but one of the losses is effectively tie worth of points.
Okay, right. So yeah, we're all kind of sitting in the middle of the pack by the looks of things. So let's see how round 5 goes. Jacob. So this is Decapitation, right?
Yep. So I was having a Bakunin off with Ben. So I took my more defensive link with my more defensive list with the full Reverend Fire team and the Taskmaster with the Morlocks in a separate group.
Oh, and we're back on this table again.
Yeah, so
Yeah, like lots of
and
repeats
I
here.
again deployed on the far side of this table. However, while I was deploying, I fucked up pretty majorly, where I was supposed to pull all of my salutes and all of my all of my repeaters essentially back as far as possible. Completely, for whatever reason, forgot to do that. Which meant that they were in the buildings on the far side. They were pretty much in the front corners. He had something kind of similar to my mobile link, where he had a Riot Girl Harris, I suppose, with Avicenna and Fiddler in it, and then had a another link with the Orphan Engineer, Moira, Sniper, and I think a Cenobite in it. So he did again what my fear was. So I should say my lieutenant in this one is the what I did was I led my I had my lieutenant as a as the custodia. He had his lieutenant as a reverend, not a reverend lawyer, as a moderator. And I think this confirmed both of my fears with Bakunin. So in his first turn, because he took first turn, I took second turn, he just ran it ended up being, I think, a 0 forward. He just ran a 0 forward up to my repeater, killer, hacked, Trinity'd my hacker, boom, dead. Pretty much straight away. So I've already lost my lieutenant in like the first maybe 4 orders of the game.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it was what I was afraid of. And I like I said, I messed up. My repeaters were supposed to be well further back. I just completely forgot to do that. Then for the rest of his turn, it was not much of anything. I think he was trying to get rid of my Uberfile commando. Just pretty much as soon as the Uberfile commando could see anything, it just dropped smoke at its feet. To survive its turn. He did have the Stigmatron that he pushed up to. I think he pushed up to try and take out my Stempazon. However, luckily, outside of cover, I got a flash pulse off on him, which I think I critted on it. So I rolled a 16. So yeah. Bricked is Stigmatron. He just ran out of orders. Stigmatron's not in a great spot. And I'm obviously down my lieutenant. My turn. This is the one thing I freaking love about the Taskmaster. So I pushed up to do some HMG work on the Stigmatron, as well as he badly deployed his Riot Girl Spitfire that he had, so that from where I deployed my Reverend Sniper, I could see the Riot Girl and shoot at her immediately. So boom, Riot Girl's gone first turn. Like I think it was 7 armor saves. I managed to crit on one of the shots. Did some work on the Sigmatron, but then did one of my favorite things, and probably one of the Val's favorite things, is I deployed a Crazy Koala in the face of the Sigmatron, walked out with my heavy rocket launcher, so we took a wound from the Crazy Koala, took a wound from the rocket, and just burnt to death. Like Sigmatron, I think, was completely gone. So I was actually pretty happy with my first turn. I had gotten a lot of his points down and not lost a lot. Like he'd killed maybe 40 points worth of my stuff, and I was probably almost up maybe like 100 points at that point. So then pretty much the rest of his turns, of my turns, was me slowly pushing up to get towards where his lieutenant was. And he just essentially ran out of steam, ran out of things to throw at me. He put his Moiras on his last turn to overwatch the corridor between the center building and the building in sort of the far right corner, where on top of the stairs he had his moderator lieutenant. I happened to have my Morlocks right on the other side of that building. They threw 2 grenades, blocked the entire corridor so he couldn't see. Ribera and the Cenobite just ran around the side of the building and did what my second fear for the Bakunin was, is just looked at the moderator and went, "You're dead." I think the Cenobite walked up and just shot 3 heavy pistols at it and dropped it dead. So the end result of that particular game was, I think the only thing I missed out on was having more lieutenants. So I think it was 9, and I had more killed than him. So I think it was 9-6.
It would be 7, wouldn't it? Because so who killed more of what?
I killed more army points.
Yeah, and
Same amount of lieutenants.
yeah, so you get. Oh, so it's same amount of lieutenants. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. So it was like 3 for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. Yeah, so yeah, 9. Yeah, because it's 3 for 3 if you kill more. So he did kill your LT again. Your
Yes, and we both did the same thing. So first turn.
So who went first?
I actually. No, I went second.
Okay.
I actually concentrated on army points first, and as I was pushing up, was killing his designated targets. So he hid one near that green building on the far side. The Uberfowl just ate him to pieces, and then at the end of my turn, my Stemper actually killed his last.
How did he kill your lieutenant again? Sorry, I just nipped out for.
Kill a hacker. Stage dive to kill a hacker because it was my Custodia.
Now, see, this is like when we did the BCB Pimp My List. I think I mentioned that the Custodia is a good lieutenant if you're going first, because then you can cyber mask it and it's safe. If you're going second, you just gonna have to hope you're playing against Ariadna or Toha, who don't have access to fucking hackers.
But that's what I was saying, is that there's literally. Like, the Taskmaster is really it's really obvious in most cases, and you want to be like fighting with it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want that to be your lieutenant. The Custodia, vulnerable to hacking. And then, like I said, this game confirmed my fear that the moderator is just can't do anything against any decent piece.
Yeah, but then
it
at the same time,
defend itself.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, like, you've lost your Custodia LT in 3 out of your 5 games, or every game you've used it by a stage diving killer hacker. Whereas if you had the moderator, that wouldn't have happened. It might have died, but it wouldn't have died to a couple of orders from a killer hacker, and you wouldn't have been as worried about deploying your deployable repeater from your initiate, because you don't have to worry about losing your LT to a stage diving hacker. That's just like that's what I've heard, is like the Custodia was probably an interesting pick, but the moderator would have been a safer pick. Although then you would have had to have like rejigged your list, which is just fair enough.
Yeah, I could have done that. I don't know. I suppose I wanted to take the chance and see what I could do with it. It didn't work out, obviously.
Yeah. No,
but yeah.
All right. So, but you got up though, so that's good to know. All right, Josh, what happened?
So this my round 5 was up against the one, the only Luke Henry, who I absolutely adore playing. We've faced off each other a couple of times. This is our first or second time in a tournament now, and yeah, just one of those staple Melbourne players that brings his A game to every event, and it's just a lot of fun to play. He had Morats.
Less fun to play.
which we were really excited about facing off against. I won the lieutenant role. I decided to go first and decided to see how much damage that I could do. He decided to deploy on the side that is closest to us currently.
What's them? Whose table was this?
This is Nick's table. Nick Two-Hill's table.
Oh, this is really nice looking table. I really like
it. Is.
That,
It's a lot of Warsenal, all of his like Warsenal and stuff. That
I really like the paint job. The green building in the middle there is nice. Maybe I'm thinking of another table. There was a table that had let's see that the for those of you watching along at home, there's that pink building with a little tower on it.
Yeah,
I think there was a similar table that had the same terrain piece, and I think I put a piece of terrain on top of that tower so it couldn't be used by sniper.
That's my Ryukin spot.
Right. Okay. Because
every time I've played on this table a couple of times. Every time I've played on it, I've either been done in by a Hundun on it, or I've placed my Ryukin on it and gone. Hey.
Yeah, I was wondering if whether or not that table should have don't go up here piece of terrain.
Nah.
It's not that bad.
Nah. Didn't get used. Okay. Luke didn't use it at all. So I deployed my Kisotsu core on the black sort of square shaped building in the back left, with the missile launcher kind of looking down at that courtyard at that pink table, and a pink building, and maybe the
fire lane
building. Good fire lane at the building. Then I sort of smattered everything else around kind of willy-nilly. My HVT was one of my HVTs was behind this green building. The other one was behind this truck here. The one behind the truck was watched over by a war core, and the one behind the green building was watched over by my Ryukin with a really nice long sight line from behind one of these bridges over here. And then on this bridge was my Diokai Harris, and then I had my bots sort of positioned where I could, if he decided to try and advance, I could flash pulse him or hack him with my Kisotsu hacker. My first, and then I slammed that over infiltrate roll on Shinobu, and I got it right up underneath where he placed his core team, which was the Suryat on this Suryat HRL on this helipad. Back this little platform that is in the corner closest to us. He had his Suryat HMG lieutenant prone in the come get me position. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna come get you. So I first turn I just ran Shinobu.
Did you have to climb up the building?
Straight across. So ran Shinobu straight across these buildings, straight across the floor here, and underneath the and so she got he attempted to discover her and didn't get any off, and then I came out across underneath here and parked underneath the sort of little balcony thing.
Underneath where?
Oh, so underneath the little balcony that is closest to us.
Yep.
Where Syriat was, just underneath there. And he didn't do anything. He couldn't do anything about that. And then I walked up the wall, and he couldn't see to a point where he couldn't see with his Syriat HMG, and then I just stayed on the wall, prone, and walked into silhouette contact with him, because I couldn't get into silhouette contact with him standing because of the way that the silhouettes work like while you're on a wall. So I had to be prone, climbing plus prone on the wall, get into silhouette contact with him prone, and then so we had this like little L-shaped battle.
Was it Suryat
So he's Suryat
on the balcony?
on the balcony, yeah, on the balcony
right.
prone.
So not enough space for you to fit your base in next to it,
No,
but
so-
you could
no.
come down. Oh, very smart.
So
Very
like climbing plus down
Yeah.
on the wall into silhouette contact with him. So this like little L-shaped battle.
Yeah, right.
So I
female bases going at it.
sliced and diced his Suryat HRL.
HRL or HMG?
And HMG, which
LT.
was his lieutenant, his
Mhm.
first his lieutenant. And then I tossed a Specfire smoke on top of this building, where he had a Morat Vanguard paramedic and a Kaitok, just the 22-point
Mhm.
Flaming Spear one, chain rifle Flaming Spear. He dodged his Vanguard to in front of, like, I had landed the smoke. He dodged his Vanguard to in front of the Kaitok. Shinobu ran up, killed the Vanguard, and then promptly got shot in the head by a Suryat HRL, which had dodged around and fired a pistol
into the smoke.
to see into the smoke, yeah, and fired a pistol into her head.
That would be difficult for him, right? Because if you weren't face to facing that pistol, were you? Because it would be at -3.
I was not I was not face to facing that pistol. I actually walked up on top of the building. He decided to dodge with his entire Link team because they all had Sixth Sense still, and then walked into silhouette contact with the Vanguard. And then so he was at like neg 3 for camo, neg 6 for shooting through smoke, neg 6 for so he was on neg 12 because he was in neg 6 for close combat, and he just managed but +3 for range, managed to just roll 2 dice and do have land 1 hit, and that meant Shinobu died. He also had on top of this building. Sorry, I should mention on top of this big purple building, he had a Raicho.
Okay, that's an important note.
It's an important note. So at this point, I lost Shinobu, but I'd killed like 1 lieutenant. Pretty happy with that, and almost matched Shinobu's points in the Suryat HMG. So I was pretty happy with how my turn was going. And so I wanted to put my Dyokai in a position where he could kind of just face off against the HRL.
Just a real quick one. You dodged into CC. You went into CC with the Vanguard.
Yes. He dodged with everything.
Yeah.
He dodged with his entire
But then
what
happened in the next order then?
With the next order, I declared CC on the Vanguard, and then he shot with the Suryat. He didn't do anything with the Vanguard and shot with the Suryat.
So you killed the Vanguard then?
I killed the Vanguard. I killed the Vanguard.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I killed the Vanguard in CC, and then he shot me with the.
I was just thinking he couldn't have done. He would have needed to split the fire team, but if he didn't do anything,
No. He didn't do the fire team.
Right.
He didn't do anything with the Vanguard. He's like, it's gonna die. So the Dyokai was prone. I stood it up on top of this on top of the bridge, the lengthways bridge that we can see, not the one that's facing down the thing. But it was blocked from the Suryat HRL by the kind of temple entrance archway thing, the green rooftop things. But what I could do is see the Raicho. So I was like, okay, let's just I think we're going to be out of 24 because I think it was right on the 16-inch line, and he was sort of just after the 16-inch line because Decap's that furthest point. And I was like, okay, I think I'm out of 24, so I'm going to shoot both my Panzerfausts at you as my thing. I shoot both my Panzerfausts. I hit both my Panzerfausts. He takes 3 wounds.
What?
Right, I goes unconscious.
You chicken. It's always nice. It's always nice when that shit goes off.
Yeah. My first turn, I'd killed his Suryat HMG and his Raicho, and he was not impressed.
Yeah, right.
His first turn, he sort of was like moving around some stuff, tried to kill a couple of my thing. Well, he tried to kill my Diokai with his HRL. I ended up doing like a wound to him with some DA marksman rifle ARO shots, and eventually I just dropped my Diokai prone. Or it might have just been straight up murdered by the HRL. One of the two. I can't remember which one. And then I think he killed one or two of my HVTs. My second turn, I tried to outrange. I started getting really scared about a Rasyat coming on and killing my only warband, so I was like maneuvering around my Kusatsu Link to try and block a Rasyat, and I faffed around with a few orders there. He named his Kaitok as the new lieutenant, so I tried to outrange the Kaitok with the missile launcher, Kusatsu missile launcher, and just like ping it off the table, me on 13s, him on like 7s. Because I really wanted to take the HRL on without having any burst mods for the fire team. So I was like, I'll try to take the Kaitok on first. And turns out we were both in bad range, and we were both on 7s, and he beat me on the dice roll, so my missile launcher went dead.
Was this is the 4-back Kaitok, right?
No, it's he shot 2 flaming spears at me.
Oh, right. Yes,
So we were in bad range with flaming spears versus bad range with missile launchers, like over 40 inches.
Oh, wow.
Because I misjudged the range. Then I ran Musashi up underneath this building that the Suryat HO into base-to-base contact with one of his HVTs or designated targets, shanked a HVT with Musashi, and then ran up underneath, took a chain rifle from the chain cult took a chain rifle from the Kaitok, and whole order jumped on top. So, and it dodged around to face Musashi, and I just walked into CC and sliced and diced the Kaitok.
Fucking Musashi doing work. What is this world?
Lost Musashi, but I was now up 2 lieutenants. I'd killed 2 lieutenants. He'd killed none because my only warband was sitting prone on the back of a building somewhere. And then there was some faffery with Yojimbo and an Osnat Harris. But my Ryukin managed to, in his second turn, my Ryukin managed to crit against the Osnat Harris, killing everything in it, and also his HVT, because his HVT was in the blast zone of the thing. So that was good. And then my third turn, my Ryukin came around and just shot the Suryat HRL off the table. So at the end of the game, I had more lieutenants. 3 lieutenants to his 0.
3. How was the third one?
We both his Suryat HRL.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. 3 lieutenants to his 0. We'd both killed 2 designated targets. And then one thing he did do in his, and we've got a major mistake rule wrong. Apparently Ryan did this to him in the league that we recently did. He pulled his Raicho's pilot out of the tag under the assumption that it would save the Raicho's points. And it was end of day 2. I've been recovering from COVID. I was having a lot of fun in the game, and it honestly sounded like one of those edge case rules that you find in Infinity. So I was like, yeah, cool, that's fair enough. I guess that's a thing that can happen. So we calculated it as him having 1 army points, and it was by like 15 with that Raicho still up. Me winning lieutenants, and so it was a 7 all draw. If we'd gotten that rule right, it would have been a 10-4 victory to me, but I'd much prefer it having a draw because it was a fun game, and I very much enjoy playing Luke, and so 7 all draw sounds good to me.
That sounds like a really good game. I've never heard someone kill 3 lieutenants before. Yeah.
Well, you've got CC monsters, you better use CC monsters.
Yeah, right. No, it sounds like a good game, but I think, so... but unfortunate about that ruling, but sounds like it doesn't really matter.
It didn't affect my enjoyment of the game. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the tournament. So, was definitely something that doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. Okay, final game. Nick,
Ooh.
how did you
Okay,
go?
back to this table.
my
And
goodness.
someone we've already heard about before. So, last game, Decap was against Lewis's White Banner. So, guy who went on to win new best player.
Yeah, we were playing next to each other. That's right.
Yeah. So, I guess I don't remember who rolled, but I went first. He picked sides. So he picked the side that was on the near side, and I had the far side. We did have a discussion beforehand about the terrain. We decided that anything that was floating, including the large yellow platform, basically just went straight to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, that one side is pretty weak on the ground. We also
Yeah, the
discussed
nearest side with all those yellow buildings just looks like you're not gonna get an awful lot of cover.
So we also discussed the crane gantry, and decided that regardless of who got which side, neither of us would deploy on the top of it because that just seemed like it would not lead to a very good game. However, we did say that there are stairs up, and if you feel like during the game, free to climb up there. So that was just kind of we looked at what that neither of us wanted to deal with an arrow piece up there. I guess before I get to the army parts, the HVTs on this table, there were no good HVT spots for either side. We both struggled to find two places we could put an HVT that wouldn't be in direct line of sight of the opponent's deployment zone on turn 1.
Mm.
So with that, we both looked at at least we both get 4 victory points before the end of the game, because no one's HVTs are surviving this. So I went first. See, in the kind of middle of the far side, there's the multi-tiered building there. I plopped my core link with the missile launcher there. The missile launcher was in that very top part of it, but prone because I learned my lesson earlier. He then deployed.
What was that?
During the Toha game, I lost it earlier than I should have because I lost it trying to be an ARO piece, and I didn't need it to be an ARO piece yet.
Right, okay.
He deployed a full core Jujack on the top of the building on the left-hand side.
That's how you do it.
That had a missile launcher and a Panzerfaust, both on arrow, looking at the rooftop where my missile launcher was prone.
Oh.
He then deployed 2 Longyas, looking at the rooftop where my missile launcher was deployed prone.
Could he see you if you're? He couldn't see you if you're prone though.
Correct. I was prone. He couldn't see me, but it was the if you stand this model up.
Yeah.
So, while he was trying to figure out where would be the least bad place to put his HVTs, kind of crouched down, looked again. Game started. I first order just cyber masked my Nahab Killer Hacker, because that way I don't forget it later. Popped over to his side, looked at his lines, back and forth, went back over to mine, looked again, confirmed with him what I saw. I tossed 1 smoke grenade that blocked one of the long yaws. I spent an order on my link team to shuffle the Zayadin while still prone to a different spot on that roof, and then stood him up where the various legs on the gantry blocked line of fire to everything except for the Panzerfaust.
Except for what one of the long, yeah?
No, one of the Jujacks.
Panzerfaust on one of the Jujacks,
Oh no!
who was also the tin bot holder.
Right.
That will be important later. Fired, took out the Panzerfaust. Shuffled to the side slightly. Now I have line only to the missile launcher. Take out the missile launcher. I did not know what he could have as camo markers, and he had one camo marker that was up on his side of the crane gantry. And I got lucky by prioritizing it because it turned out to be a Beast Hunter.
Yeah.
I had Carmen come up and from the other side of smoke, intuitive attack it, and it failed its dodge and went down.
Ooh, I don't know if I would attempt to dodge. I think I would just, if I was him, I would just lay a heavy flamethrower back at you.
I think he wanted to try to preserve it because he could have put that into my core link on his turn.
His best sort of lieutenant killing piece, probably.
It's like a 13 on a 13, so yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So after that, went over to his turn, back and forth some. There wasn't too much that was terribly notable. The right-hand side of the table had my Sonic Butt, and he had a Haris of monks and what's the name? Lingqua. Yeah. Linkai. Yeah. They fluffed about for a bit. And in the end, one monk got through. But by that time, the Monstrucker had thrown all her drop bears, and it was basically every time it moved, it was having to dodge one mine. They were not close enough together to get two at the same time. My second turn, I managed to get one of my Fanus over. You see the door on the side of that building where his Jujak core is? Yeah, it was sitting there.
What door?
Which meant... So there's a little door. Basically, I got my Fanus to sit
up on flank
below the building where his Jujak core was.
Yep.
On the far left-hand side.
Yep.
So the only thing I did to them on my turn was I isolated his lieutenant, because that was also the link lead at the time. So lieutenant is no longer there. The link breaks. I'm helping to burn his command tokens. He promotes a new lieutenant from the core. So he is currently on his second lieutenant, but I have not killed a lieutenant yet.
Why did he choose it from the core? That was gonna be rough.
Because that was the only eligible target he had left.
Okay.
Everything else was either remote or a monk.
Or irregular. Yeah.
Yeah, regular. Yeah, sure.
He had another monk that he brought around to where one of my HVTs was. It happened to go just correctly in my favor, where he moved the monk up with first move, moved the monk up with second move because there's nothing there. Goes to do something else. But wait, come back to this. Monks have stealth, right? Yes. Okay. Reveal the hidden deploy Tuareg, who is camped right next to my HVT. Because he had stealth, I did not have an ARO until his second move, in which he moved into line of fire of my hidden deploy Tuareg.
Oh.
So he had no reaction and ate shotgun template and went down.
That's a trick. That's one of those things.
Note to listeners: if there's nothing to do with stealth in the midfield, just declare that you're not using stealth. Force those hidden deployments to dodge.
So at that point, every time he activates anything in his core, now I think it's still a core, but it's down to 2 members, I think, because one is still isolated. He gets hacked back by 2 hackers. But even at this point, he just has a never say die attitude and keeps going. And it was fun. Just like he did not let up at all, no matter how far he slipped behind. The game ended with him getting that last monk up and basically charging at my core so that he could get inside of pistol range and take a single shot at my lieutenant. So that was like, oh, well, you just kept going. It was awesome.
Did it work?
I ended up...
Did it work?
Did it
no.
No, okay.
He was just outside of 16.
Right, okay.
So the pistol just failed completely.
Yeah. Well, no, it's -6 and cover for -9, and it's a monk. So
It was BS10?
On twos.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
the twos. Okay, yeah, right.
Oh no, you're probably actually
so
right.
he was rolling for a crit, basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nonetheless,
Yeah, they are
saw
BS10.
the opportunity and went for it. So in the end, it was...
Did you kill the LT
Sorry?
in the end? Did you kill the LT?
I killed the second LT.
Yeah.
By that time, his original LT had reset, and so he re-promoted his original LT.
Oh, so yeah, they're in
So-
back again, yeah.
Yeah, because that way I could only kill 2 lieutenants as opposed to 3.
Not that it matters.
So at the end of the game, his original lieutenant was still his lieutenant, and I had 1 lieutenant killed.
Very good.
So yeah, it ended up being 10-4 in my favor, and yeah, fun game, and just seeing the little bits going like, okay, if I can get those 2 crane gantry legs that are like the far one and the near one, and they just clip at this position, okay, it blocks that one. Now can I get, yeah, good way to finish up the tournament.
Yeah, cool. No, it sounds like 3 ripper games for the last round, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all 5 games. So the standings then for you guys at the end. Jacob, where did you end up?
16th.
16th. Josh.
Undefeated at 12th.
And you, Nick.
I managed to get up to 8th.
8th. That's really good. That's
Yep.
really excellent. Repping highest ranked Hack Islam player, I think it was, or one of 2 hack players on there.
There were 3 hack player, 1 Ramah,
Oh.
1 Assassins, 1 Vanilla.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, well done. Well done to everybody. We'll stick your lists in the show notes for those, and I believe we're also compiling the top 10 lists that I think we're almost there. We'll put them in probably a separate link if it doesn't come out before the show. And we'll also put I think we've already done the standings earlier on, but we'll attach the standings as a show notes as well for those who want to look at the full list. So yeah, I guess in conclusion, thoughts on the weekend, guys?
I mean, BCB is always a good time. It's fun to have such a large tournament in Melbourne, and I think this has probably been I think this is the 3rd or 4th BCB I've been to. This is probably the one I've enjoyed the most.
Oh,
I don't know about how many they've been, but
there's been 4.
This has probably been the best one.
I think.
Yep.
1, 2, 4. This will be 4th.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I had a great time. Despite being unreasonably unwell at basically all points during the weekend, recovering from COVID and such. I still had a great time. That's it. Still had a great time. Played some great people. Unfortunate that I played 3 Melbourneites, but also great that I played 3 Melbourneites because I love each and every one of them. So.
Yeah. Because it only second BCB, but had a great time. Yeah, great venue, great people. It worked smoothly. It was really nice to be only a 15-minute drive from home, as opposed to having it on the other side of Melbourne and having to drive like an hour back. So that probably helped with how well I did on Sunday because I was rested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny power gamers not coming out late at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good as well that
But-
we had about 8 to 12 people all camped in the same hotel just across the road from the venue.
Mhm.
So that made it a lot of fun as well. You know, just a lot of people just could hang back and have a few drinks, and they weren't too far away, and also also very helpful for packing up as well. Lots of people stayed back and helped pack up. Really good community of people. Shout out to John who took out the event, and also to John for having the last minute idea to make 3 cutouts of two of them CB employees and then Dion from Toy Soldier Imports. That was a lot of fun to have Carlos and Coney, or Bostria and Coney, and at the event in spirit, in cutout form. Lots of selfies were taken with them, and they were also signed.
Some of them even appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, and they were all signed by all the players as well. I think they're going to do the circuit for the next 12 months. I think they're going to end up coming to CanCon as well. So they're going to be at every major event. We're going to try and get them sent to every major event in Australia before we eventually. There we go.
Oh, yeah, they're there.
Before we eventually send them back to Spain, probably sometime next year. So that'll be really good. And thanks to Carlos and Coney for allowing us to use their likeness. They weren't too heavily abused. I know Trent wanted to take them home with him to Northern Territories, but we were too concerned about what he would do with them if alone. It's all those little things that really help make the event like what it is. Like the community of Infinity players is really special. So, and it's like epitomized in BCB, and yeah, it was great.
So just quickly before we go, we've obviously given you a player's perspective, but as one of the TOs, how did you find this particular BCB? I mean, I don't remember there being any drama, and I'm not asking you to spread any, but yeah, how was the TO experience?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was pretty like I say, I think that, like I said, the bump in was really smooth. The venue was great. The people who ran the venue were awesome. All the players were great. There weren't any. I don't think, there were some rules disputes. There were some rule disputes that we got wrong. There were some rule disputes that we got right and then had to quickly correct. And we're like, no, don't do that. And everyone was pretty good about it. And I didn't actually have to play very often. I think I played like two games. Yeah, I played 2 games over the weekend. I think Nick played 1. So that's nice. We had enough TOs that if we needed to Gumby we could, and it wasn't. It was nice to be able to walk around for most of the event and just chat.
It's very worrying when the Gumby was like in like the top half of the standings at the end of day 1. We were like, I think Kevin and Nick have gone hard.
I think that's something that we can feedback. We went with the intention that we didn't want to just play the bottom player, because it's like, I don't know, it just seems a bit boring. We were gonna just like play, whatever. So we didn't want to like play down, but we also didn't want to play too hard. I think maybe in future we'll just like stick to the bottom player. Clubbing baby deals.
I kind of liked your idea of not playing the absolute last player because they're already struggling, and to bring in a TO who's good at the game and fresh, and then go like, here, what you're struggling. Let's play a fresh player.
But but also the TO. It's not. I don't think it's also like to the same extent. A TO will kind of also go on autopilot a little bit against a new player, because they are a TO and they have to concentrate on so many other things. So it's fine having a good player play like someone who's like coming last or whatever, as long as they can put in the attention that is required to really show that new player a good experience rather than just a loss. And so I don't think I've ever played Kevin when he's on autopilot, but I've played Kevin when he's not on autopilot, and it's a devastating thing to be across the table from. So I can't imagine that autopilot Kevin is much worse than that. So it could be a potentially negative experience in that direction as well.
Yeah, it's sort of like what Nick pointed out when he was not TOing. When he was TOing, was he really enjoyed just hanging around the bottom tables and offering advice to both players, because there were often new players that were struggling with time management. That was one of the things we were very conscious of, is trying to keep everyone to 2 hours. And I think he really.
Which you guys did really well, by the way.
Yeah, I think everyone did really well with that. Was trying to keep to the 2 hours, and was just like kind of hovering around.
As in like you Nick and Pete going around making sure everybody stayed to time.
Yeah,
worked really well, because I didn't mention it, but I think in my second game against the newer player, we took a bunch of time in the first turn, and so like I didn't push it on my opponent. I'm like, my turns are going to be like 15 minutes to give this guy the most amount of time possible to play his turn. And that was because you guys, I had my back to the clock, so I couldn't see it, but it was because you guys came around and be like, hey, you got this much time, and blah, 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 blah. It was great.
Yeah, I think that's something that we picked up on, like maybe after the first couple of rounds, was just hanging around the bottom tables and just helping them out with the really easy stuff, like hey, your 3012s, just roll them. What do I need for armor saves? Doesn't matter, just roll your dice. If it's a 20, you've passed. If it's a 1, you've not. Like, just that sort of stuff. And then even
do the maths if it matters.
Yeah, that's it. Like
that's my favorite saying in Infinity is just roll it and we'll see if it matters.
See if it matters. And like even just things like with coming on with airborne deployment, there was some players being like not sure about best place, and I'm just like, look, if you put them there, you can do this, and they're like, oh, and you can see the cogs in their head turning, and you can see them like clicking and going, I see, like, oh, I understand this rule better now, or you help them make decisions, and it just speeds the game up for both of them, because neither of them necessarily know what they're doing. Not to say that they don't know how to play the game, but sometimes there's just decisions that they're not quite sure. They don't know themselves as a good or bad one. So having like myself and Nick and Pete, being able to watch the table and just being like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Like, do that, or offering suggestions was actually quite interesting and quite fun.
It also takes some of the pressure off of them of remembering all the rules, remembering all the nuance, and by having you there, that you can take care of that.
Yeah.
And let them explore the tactics of the game.
Yeah, there was like sometimes where like I'd be like, oh, is that such and such? Oh, did you know that model also has a chain rifle? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't. And then they'd be like, oh, I can use the chain rifle. Or do you know this guy's dodging on like a really good number? So you can definitely just dodge if you want to. So like that sort of stuff. And you could see them go, oh, thank you. Like they were just didn't think about these ideas. So it's nice to offer that out to them. No issues as far as I can recall. Was really like I really want to say like the hosts of the venue were super accommodating and super nice. And we'd definitely love to come back there. Really nice to all the participants, and that was great. And yeah, really enjoyed the beer on tap. That was nice. I think
only downside of the venue. So while I was like out having lunch outside and going like, oh, this music is nice. It reminds me of high school. Then going, wait a sec. The music at the Balls Club reminds me of high school. Now I feel old.
Yeah. That's good. That's it. No, any other feedback from you guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
No, cool. Just nerf Toha, because that's the second BCB that Toha have won, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to look at the pilots, right?
Yeah.
Julian and John, like, you don't get much better. in Australia.
Plus, a tournament where paramedics are kind of king, and that's the one specialist that I think Toha do all right at is paramedics.
Yeah, even still, not quite. Yeah, no, like you've yeah, sure, Nerf Toha, they're great, but also, you know, they're out of print, so who plays them
Yeah,
anyway?
apparently
Just people who want to win tournaments. So
the worst kind of people.
guys, get on the Toha.
No, please don't.
I'm playing
sick of dealing
Toha
with her.
next tournament. That's me. BCB next year. Toha.
Okay. Year of the Toha.
No. Year of
Year of the Toha.
Toha.
All right. Well, if we've got nothing else to talk about, thank you all so much for coming on and talking about your games. I know it's been a few weeks, so your memory is much better than mine. So thank you for that. Anyway, you've been listening to Loss of Lieutenant. My name's Kevin.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Nick.
Good night.
Good night.
Yay. Stop recording.